Hello, Twitter. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Mutter. Hello, Fodder. I'm Jim Deedlow, sitting in the saddle again here at the Purdue Northwest Commercialization Manufacturing Excellence Center. Here's the Strachan Van Til Studios, and I just got back from the banks of the Little Calumet River, and that's courtesy of Ironworkers Local 395. And just stuff, I had a couple people texting me, "Hey man, how come you're not on the air?" and so forth. They're all over it in Chicago. Yesterday, I was there again at 5:15 this morning. I was out on the banks of Hart Ditch at 1 in the morning. But I do believe that it's my responsibility, for whatever reason, all of the moons of Capricorn have lined up, and I'm the guy who sits here in the morning. I'm the guy that owns these radio stations and who owns the streaming media company. And for whatever reason, you guys look to that, I'm going to give you some sense of the reality of the situation. And I did that yesterday. I said, hey, listen, we're going to be on it. I'm talking to my buddy Dan Repay. He's all over it. We had him on twice. I had the Munster guys on. I had Mark Knizik on of the town of Highland yesterday. Tony and Ron were all over it yesterday in the afternoon. I was getting texts. My sister lives right over by Hart Ditch. I got all that. But about 10 o'clock last night, I had to go out and look at a sandbagging operation that was twofold. You had a large contingent of young people out at the Munster garage filling sandbags, and then you had a whole bunch of volunteers, including my brother-in-law Mark, Forite along Hart Ditch, putting a second layer of sandbags because Hart Ditch was just a terror last night. But I would come down and go on the air, and I would do the Facebook Live videos and so forth, which I did, and you guys followed them. If I thought that it was the kind of perfect storm, or people were going to start flooding, because part of it is that we have to attach the appropriate amount of alarm. And I've been through all of this. I have my finger on the pulse. People call me with the best information, and I would let you know if there was that level. I did a late night Facebook Live just to calm everybody, because there were a ton of people driving through Wicker Park area saying, why are there so many fire trucks? Why are there like 50 guys out there throwing sandbags? Is this about to break or whatever? No, that was called prophylactic sandbagging. So part of the problem was that Chicago was down here with all their media walking and running around yesterday. They have two things. First of all, they don't know the level of concern here, because they just don't. Even if they're a longtime reporter, they may not have covered the floods of 2008, and they may not know the little nuances of flood coverage around here. And then, so they have two factors. They don't know. And second of all, they have to create as much disarray and alarm as you can have. I mean, that's what sells ads on Chicago television. And so I thought it was a little bit irresponsible, some of the level of alarm they were throwing out yesterday. Okay, I was on it. We were watching it. I'm on it now. It may still flood and so forth, but we'll know when that's going to happen. A wall may burst or whatever. But I just think that we have to take deep breaths when it comes to big rains, and the perfect storm happened yesterday. 16 inches of snow. I talked to Chief Timmer at 1 in the or midnight, and we're talking about it, and he's like, yeah, 16 inches of snow, frozen ground, and a ton of rain. And he said 4 inches is kind of the level of rain in that situation that turns it from just a kind of something to be concerned about to some sort of a calamity. And he's right. We didn't get over that 4 inches. So I just want to let you know, it bothers me when I turn on the weather at 10 o'clock at night, or even during the day, and they're hyping up the weather as like, oh my God, the worst snowstorm ever is coming, and then they're leading with it on their news, and then they come back to it 2 or 3 times during the news. That's selling the ads. Well, what they were trying to sell ads with yesterday was a possible flood along the Little Calumet River, and I don't think that was appropriate. And it's just how it is. It's just people that don't know what they're doing and they have to drum up news. I talked with Dan Repay about it late. I'm like, they're looking for a story that isn't there. And what are you going to do? So, are we out of the woods yet? I don't think so. I mean, we still have concerns that water is coming from South County and coming this way. But I've been out at all of these locations late into the wee hours. And I was there this morning. There's a guy from Munster who had a flashlight, spotlight, and I very much want to appreciate him. I asked him his first name, and sometimes people who work for cities and towns, don't want to be, they don't even want to be denoted on the air, and I get it. But thanks to that guy, he came out with a spotlight, and you can go look at the Facebook Live video I just did and see that the water is, yes, touching the Columbia Avenue Bridge, but it's right where it was when I went to bed at 1, and the guy from Munster said he thought it had come down about 2 or 3 inches since about 5 o'clock. So that's where we're at right now in terms of all of the flooding. Let me take a quick, we still have a flood watch on, and that basically goes all the way to Saturday. But let's take a look here. 294 around the city looks pretty good, and 80 going east and west looks good. Your problem is the Bishop Ford, and there is something, Bishop Ford closing the right lane before 130th Street, so right before right around the Steel Bridge, right north of Dalton Avenue. I don't know if where's 130th before or after the bridge. Somebody text me that at 219-845-1100. I don't know why they're closing the right lane. I don't know if that was an accident or if that's just water standing over there. But that's backing things all the way up past 159th. And if you're getting into that right now, I'm sorry. Wish you luck. But you got to stop and go for a few miles there from 159th to 130th. Well, add it up. It's about 3 miles. Maybe 160th to 130th. That's 30 blocks. I think it's around 10 blocks a mile. So you're at about 3 miles of backup there on the Bishop Ford right now. Once you get past that, you're fine. Even the Dan Ryan looks good. Skyway Toll Road looked pretty good. The Borman's moving well. So is US 30 Klein Avenue. All right, guys. Anybody else have anything out there? Let's talk. Let's see if Paul from Hassey has been around. Ryan, what do you want to tell me? We have a ticker of delays and closings, and those are running across our video feed on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Some of you that don't like to go on Facebook and Twitter, you don't have to sign in to YouTube. You can just go there and type in WJOB.1230. I did that for I did it for one person, and that is my buddy Bill Baker, who says, I'm not signing into Facebook to watch you. I'm not signing into Twitter. If you put it on YouTube, you don't have to sign in, so I'll just go there. So there's a ticker going across the bottom. Hey, it is what it is. I know some of you guys just want me to come on and talk politics on the radio, and you don't want anything to do with the video and so forth. But too bad. Why don't you just pull out your transistor radio and go sit in your garage and read Mad Magazine, okay? Because the world's changing, and you better deal with it. We've been using the technology pretty well here the last 36 hours to give you guys some pretty good coverage of the flood. The appropriate level of coverage was bugging the hell out of me yesterday that they were hyping this up. Anyways, let's talk to Paul from Hassey. Paul, are you out there today?
Hey, good morning, Jim. Hey, I haven't heard you mention anything that Holman Avenue is closed off.
Okay, it is.
Northbound and southbound at the river. Basically, you can't go under 8094, and you can't get, over the river heading south from Hammond.
So hold on a second. When I went to bed at 1 o'clock, all I had was Bernice Road was closed, which is that road that goes along on the north end of
Correct.
the expressway that goes into Lansing.
They've closed off Holman.
Okay, so did they close it at the north of the river, or did they just close it under the Borman?
It's closed both ways. It's closed at 173rd on the north side.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's closed, I don't know exactly, probably like 177th, or maybe the businesses that are on the south side of 8094 right there.
Okay, so let's look at this. If you needed to go over the river right now, you would not be able to go on Holman, and you can't go on Northcott, and you can't go on Kennedy. So your options are Calumet, Columbia,
Wentworth.
Uh,
Wentworth is still open if you wanted to go into Lansing and take Wentworth to get over the river.
so let me think about it. Is there anything between Holman and Calumet? That's Harrison. That actually really only goes over the river at Calumet. So, all right. So Calumet, Columbia.
But that service road on Harrison's closed also. That
Okay.
leads down into the church and Reaper's Realm, that's
Mm-hmm.
completely closed off at Calumet.
All right. So, but Calumet is open. I mean, man, did that look good?
Yes, I went over it. I went over it at 5:00. It was open.
I went over there about 1 in the morning, and my brother-in-law's, man, you got to go see that thing. It looks like Calumet Avenue Bridge is going to float away. And man, was he right? I mean, I don't know how strong they build these things. I mean, you're a construction guy. That's a lot of force of water just pushing up on those bridges.
Yeah, they're built to withstand it though. They really are. So it's hydraulics. There's a lot of hydraulics involved in that water. But what I'd like to say, Jim, is if the Little Cal Commission, Repay and Baker and those guys and our tax, if it wasn't in effect, we would be in much worse dismay than where we are right now just watching this thing. This would have been catastrophic once again. And for any caller to call in, as I heard one yesterday from South County, and complain about it was just a moderate rain and that lets up our tax, being very cynical and critical of that cow tax. This wasn't just a moderate rain, as you've called it. It's basically been a perfect storm. The large amount of snow, the quick melt, the heavy rain, it all combines to large amounts of water that have to go somewhere. And unfortunately, we are the recipient of those large amounts of water heading towards Lake Michigan. And again, without the maintenance program that Baker and Repay and the Cal Commission have put into effect over the last 10 years from '08, along with the Army Corps, this has helped. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I'm sure everybody's still sitting at the edge of their chairs, but we would be in boats by now, Jim, if these guys and this commission were not doing what they've done.
Well, let's look at that phone call yesterday, and I hope Dave calls back because he called right at the end, kind of at the height of listening audience too. So a number of people mentioned his phone call, but Dave called in and said, "Hey, listen, we have a moderate rain right now, and it looks like we're almost flooding, and people are going nuts, and the level of anxiety is like 8 or 9 out of 10." He goes, "What happens when we get a real rain? And, why are we paying this tax if it's not giving us this level of safety, or at least a feeling of a level of safety, that it's not doing its job?" You're showing the other side of that, but you know what? We always have to remain vigilant about the Little Calumet River. And I know that that guy probably upset you, as he upset many people, even in my own family, as we were gathering yesterday in my sister's house. And they're like, screw that guy. And I'm like, no, listen. It's guys like that and people thinking like that are going to keep people honest and keep people straight, and they're just exhibiting their own frustration. I think it's a little misplaced here. I think that they're doing a great job as much as they can, but in the end, that's a big tub of water that comes right through all of us and can flood at any time.
Yeah, but one of the problems I had with it was the fact that he's acting like he's paying tax for something that doesn't directly affect him. Well, Jim, the high water levels on that river, I'm far enough away from that river to where it doesn't directly affect me either, but it affects other people. I do not mind paying that tax, as I said before, to help others to get by in times like this. That's where this world has gone wrong. Everybody's worried about their own small egg that they live in, not the big picture.
Okay, all right, that part of it I understand. So you're saying that he's like down in Crown Point, and he's saying, "Man, even though I grew up around here, I don't want to pay any tax for the Little Calumet River. That's their problem, not mine." That's all right.
Well,
I
from his
wasn't. It was right at the end of my show, and I was like, oh man, I didn't quite get all of it. I had people talking to me, and I was shuffling papers here and so forth. I didn't get that part of it because you got to think about it, and you know this, Paul. There are a lot of people, especially in Crown Point, and I've heard from them that they have said that exact line of thinking. You know what? That water's your problem. I'm so pissed that I got to pay that tax. And then I'm like, well, when speaking of pissed, what happens when you go into the bathroom or you go out in your front yard and you sprinkle your front yard? Where do you think that water goes? And they don't want to deal with that. Well, too bad. It's far away.
exactly. Yeah, I mean because that's the flow of hydraulics in our area, and it's not just that. It's I've listened to a lot of Dave's other calls, and he has very ill feelings towards Crown Point and towards the crooked, government and past government of Crown Point, as I do. I mean, but the Cal Commission, I don't believe should be tied into that because I don't believe they are. And I think they do an excellent job at what they need to focus on. So
All
I
right,
just
man.
wanted to get that out there.
Thanks a lot, Paul. Thanks for
Yep.
your views out there and stuff. We'll talk to you. 219-845-1100. Just as an update, it is 30 degrees here at the WJOB Strachan Van Til Studios. It's 32 degrees at local 697 of the electricians along I-65. It is 32 degrees in Porter County at local 395 of the ironworkers. And then right here, it's 31 degrees along the state line. So we're right on the freezing line. This is as warm as it's going to get. Might dip down into the upper 20s for a good portion of the day later. But we actually might get some sun for a little while. Clouds giving way to some sun and much colder today. Tomorrow, partly sunny and a high of 37. You can watch the videos that I did in the middle of the night. I went over to Hart Ditch. They were concerned about Hart Ditch, which is a little change from where our concern has been in the past. And then I was out at the Little Cal this morning, and you can watch those on Facebook Live. But right now, as we stand, we don't have any flooding of Hart Ditch or of Little Cal that has been reported here. We do have a bunch of 2-hour delays, and if you want to see those, you got to go to Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube and read them as they go across the screen. And let's go to Bob on line 1. Hey, Bob, what's going on, man?
Hey, first of all, the Bishop Ford, I got started slowing down at 159th Street. I'm not even near 130th Street yet, so it's a mess. I don't want to be the one to call it, but you may want to stay off the Bishop Ford. I don't know if it's an accident or what. It's taken me forever just to get there. So this is horrible. I'm creeping. I mean, I'm basically idling, if that. So stay off the Bishop Ford would be my advice. I didn't really get to hear any of your show yesterday. I'm a conservative. I really don't like paying taxes. If I do pay them, I want to see something out of them. And it does seem that the Calumet River Basin Commission actually does something. It's $45. I don't care if it's $45 or 45 cents. I earned it. I'm really not that anxious to give it away. But when you can have somebody actually do something, and as of now, they seem to be doing it, keeping the water between the walls, which is what they're paid to do, I'd have to say good job. I enjoy calling Repay about every other time that he's on to point out that he doesn't have a whole cavalcade of deadbeat political hacks on his staff and payroll, and he actually gets the job done. I half jokingly say it. He's the antithesis of Lake County government. He actually has a set amount of money, and he gets the job done. You may not like it. I don't particularly like him or dislike him. I don't know him. All I can do is judge him on his ability to keep the water between the walls and get levee walls built. And as of now, I think he's doing an excellent job. I think I don't want to say he's a role model, but I think other Lake County politicians should be crapping in their pants a little bit that there's actually a guy out there that can get a job done for what he says it's going to cost.
I just want to make sure I got this right because that was pretty good verbiage here, right? Repay doesn't have a cavalcade of deadbeat political hacks. Was that it, right, guys? Did I get that right? A cavalcade of deadbeat political hacks. What do you mean by that?
Well, when you call them and you go, hey, you got 18 people working for you now? How many cousins? No, nobody. Just me and the office lady, and we got the board obviously, and we have contractors that come in and do the cleaning, but he actually gets the job done. I mean, he seems to be. I don't want to just put it all. I mean, he has other people. He has contractors. He has to have a. It's not just him. I mean, I don't mean to give him that much credit. No one person does everything, but he seems to be doing a good job of managing it.
Well, I'll tell you, Bob. I don't do this often, as I bring in Billy Baker, who's the head of that board for a long time and has been on that board from its inception. I've had long talks with him about how do you run something. I said, you guys are being irresponsible in only having one guy and one secretary run $6 million a year. I go, you got to have a little bit more. And he's like, nope, I'm not doing it. And so a lot of that actually comes a little bit high. Dan is certainly playing out the playbook, but there's a number of guys on there like Tom Gozdecki and Bill Baker and Wolshinsky has been like that. Those guys are like, we are not going to have, let me read it again, a cavalcade of deadbeat political hacks working for the Little Cal Commission. So you got to give it to those the board that's kind of stood their ground. And I've even thought I've even expressed the opposite of that to Baker. I'm like, dude, you got to have some people there other than Dan. It's all on one person. And he's like, nope, that's how we're going to do it. And if Dan can't handle it at some point, we'll give him another one, but that's about it. And so it's just different. It's a different way to do it, and it's working.
Yeah, it actually has a cost. They figured out a cost. I mean, you could say the tax should be $40 or it should be $35. In this instance, I mean, it flooded in 2008. Didn't we have I-80 shut down? For how long was I-80 literally shut down?
It was several days.
Yeah, well, gee, I mean, that's like the main east-west interstate through the country, and we couldn't keep that open. I mean, that's not. I don't think that it's our responsibility to make sure every truck gets from Cheyenne, Wyoming to Syracuse, New York, but we can't keep the roads open. That's a pretty poor commentary on anything. Well, I think we need to worry about that before we worry about building new roads and trains and everything else. And then one quick thing, I'll let you go with this one. I heard you earlier talking about the ways the Chicago media was basically covering the flood and how they were overblowing it, and they need that tumult to sell advertising. Are you saying that there's like some kind of, I don't want to say it's fake news, but there's a fakeness to the media? You mean to tell me your media brothers and sisters might be overblowing things, and on the left and the right? I'll get a little political here. You mean to tell me that this isn't all straightforward journalism? I'm shocked, Jimmy.
I think what it is, I don't want to go that far and make it I don't want to make a flood or a possible flood a political. But I will say this, I think that what happens is, in general, and I've been doing this, I first covered my first story here in early 1985 with Chicago media. A, they don't know what's really happening down here. And B, they only really want what you said, the tumult. If it's just general, regular order news, it is not, they got to kind of drum it up a little bit. And I don't know if that's always a positive thing. I got to move, Bob. 619 in the Calumet region. We got a lot of sponsors right now. So I will be right back to you, Lori. You are next. Be right back.
For a fast and friendly car wash, go to Easy Clean Car Wash. Easy Clean is happy to announce their new location's grand opening at 1637 45th Street in Griffith. Open 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. Or stop by one of our 3 other locations in Highland, Cherville, and Lansing. Free vacuuming, carpet shampooer, air freshener, and towel with every wash. And it's fast, easy, convenient, safe, and gentle. Go to myeasyclean.com for more information.
Arlington Foley, attorney at law, has over 35 years' experience and focuses in the area of personal injury, DUIs, federal, and criminal law. Arlington Foley is located at 1942 North Main Street in Crown Point, Indiana, and can be reached at 219-661-1200. A lifelong resident of Northwest Indiana, growing up in East Chicago, and a Vietnam veteran, Arlington Foley has the expertise and knowledge to handle your case. See our website, foleyslawoffices.com, for more information, or call 219-661-1200. Arlington Foley, bringing law to the people.
Thanks a lot to Arlington Foley for signing up. Thanks a lot to the Tauber Law Firm for signing up also. They'll be sponsoring the sectionals and the regionals coming up. Hey, just because Gladys comes on a regular basis here, I think some lawyers have said, oh, well, Gladys is on there. I'm like, no, this is wide open airwaves. And when you guys call, it's wide open. And we want to hear from everyone in the community. How does that sound?
Giovanni's in Munster, Northwest Indiana's premier Italian cuisine. Come enjoy our expertly prepared veal, steak, seafood, and other Italian delicacies. Experience over 20 years of entertainment with our piano player Jack every Friday and Saturday evening in the lounge. And join our VIP or e-rewards on your next stop in. Host your special event, shower, or celebration in our back room. Giovanni's is located at 603 Ridge Road in Munster. Call 836-6220 to make a reservation. Check out our menu at giosmunster.com.
For generations, you've trusted Edgewater Systems to provide compassionate, high-quality care. As the science of behavioral health has evolved, it's revealed the important connection between physical and behavioral health. With this in mind, we're pleased to introduce Edgewater Health, which includes primary care, in addition to our long-standing mental health and addiction services. Whichever combination of services you need, Edgewater Health is here for you for your whole life. Learn more at edgewaterhealth.org.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jim Diedlow, host of JED in the region. We have the perfect storm, 16 inches of snow that had to melt and go somewhere. Then you had a pretty big rain, right around 3 inches in a lot of spots. And then, yeah, can you throw that out? And those are like a month old. I don't know how a blackberry stays still edible after a month. God, when I was a kid, if you didn't eat a blackberry within the first day, it was dead. Now they sit there for a month and you can still eat them that long but later. But anyways, we had the perfect storm of 16 inches of snow. It had to melt and go somewhere. Then you had a complete warm-up and a big rain that came. And then you still have a frozen ground that won't absorb the water. You don't have any roots to bring in the grab the water as it goes in. Everything's dead for the winter. So perfect storm came along. And as far as we can tell right now, we're not looking at any flooding along the Little Calumet River or along Hart's Ditch. When I went to bed, I spoke with, right before midnight, I spoke with Highland Police Chief Bill Timmer, was all over it, and we discussed the levels, and he had the Kennedy Avenue level at about 15.1, and right around 15.2, that should be closed. So they were getting on it at about midnight last night. Was Hammond and Highland workers were up all night working, as were Munster and Griffith and the rest of people all over the place. We've had some localized flooding in some of the side streets, but luckily those two big tubs of water that exist amongst us, the Hart Ditch and Little Calumet River, did not go over their banks as far as I can tell. So let's take a look at traffic. The big news on traffic is going up the gut of the Southland on the Bishop Ford. At 130th, they have the eastbound and westbound ramps closed. Ryan, is that just water, standing water? It looks like standing water at 130th. So that's backing things up. You heard Bob talk about crawling for a lot of minutes through from 115, well, basically from when you turn off of the Kingery there by Torrance and trying to start going north. From there all the way up, it's bad. 294 looks good, though. So does 80 going east and west. Bishop Borman. I don't have that much bad stuff on the Borman. Do you, Ryan? I haven't seen anything. I'm a little surprised. Makes me feel like I've missed something. But I don't see any major traffic on the Borman. Skyway and the Toll Road, US 30, Klein Avenue. Hey, those are all moving along pretty well. I got a bunch of texts coming in, so give me a sec here to catch up on these. By the way, that is the traffic is brought to you by Napleton River Oaks Honda, proudly serving Northwest Indiana with superior customer service. We had 5 people, by the way, sign up yesterday for the sectional, regional, semi-state coverage. We cut a deal. WJOB and Region Sports came together, and we cut a deal with the IHSAA so that we could do about 20 or more games in video on Facebook Live for the Indiana Boys Tournament. So we're going to be out at Lake Central, Chesterton, Hammond and Whiting sectionals. And if you guys want in on that, call Ryan today. I put it out yesterday. We had 5 people, and I don't know, Ryan, we have to sit down and figure out where the cutoff is. But A week from yesterday, we're going to be at these 4 sectional sites bringing you guys games. First time ever this has happened. We've had, I think in the 70s, you had Channel 50 go out to some games. Over the years, we've done a few games. Region's done a few games. Lakeshore's done a few games. But this will be a comprehensive video coverage all the way around the region of sectional basketball games. It's going to cost me a ton of money. So if you want to sponsor that so that it's not, I'm not losing as much. I think it's just from the massive cost of the whole thing. I'm not really sure how, at this point, looking up over the mountain, I don't see the sunshine, but maybe you could help just a little bit by calling Ryan or emailing Ryan at wjob1230.com. But you know what? I got to give it to the IHSAA, man. It was, they're holding their ground, and, I had to use some of my long-term developed region negotiating skills, but we finally came up with this deal, and they're in. So let's go with it. All right, here we go. It's 625 in the Calumet region, and what else are we looking at? Weather. Yeah, it's supposed to get sunny today. Much colder. It dropped 30 degrees overnight, basically, and it's 30 degrees right here at the Strachan Van Til Studios on the campus of Purdue Northwest. Tomorrow, partly sunny also. It gets a little warmer and a high of 37. By Friday, get a little bit more rain and a high in the mid-40s over the weekend. All right, guys, let's take your phone calls. Let's see what's happening out there. The big news right now is that the Little Cal and Hart Ditch have not overflown or have not gone over their banks as far as we know. And Holman's closed, Kennedy's closed, and Northcott are closed over the river. If you got any other closures, can you call Ryan at 219-845-1100 or text those to the text line is also 219-845-1100. Also, scrolling underneath me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube video, you have all of the closures and the delays that have come into us. All right, let's go to Lori on local 599 phone line. Lori, thanks for holding.
Not a problem. Good morning.
Hey, how are you doing overnight?
I was worried. I'm out here at the state line tieback. I've met 3 or 4 neighbors already this morning, and the sun's really not up. Our detention pond that sits just across the state line is pretty darn full. You can't see the spillway anymore. Yesterday morning at 6:30, it was empty. But it is not up to the top. I did see Calumet City come a few minutes ago and check on their side. And I am relieved to have this tieback in place, as are many of my neighbors. I received phone calls last night, and emails and texts from neighbors wanting to know what I knew. I was on the river yesterday morning, early 6:30. Again, yesterday when I got out of work at 3 o'clock. And again, last night at 7:30. So I, too, have been out looking. I'm headed over to Holman Avenue and Bernice in a few minutes to see how badly it is flooded there. I am grateful for every drop of water that goes across Bernice Road and across the Frisbee golf course, because any water that takes is water that doesn't come into this detention pond.
Hey, Lori, let's back people up. Lori is at the state line and the Little Calumet River, which has been a huge problem over the years for flooding. Describe in a short version of what happened there by the Little Cal Commission to hopefully protect you guys.
The Little Cal Commission put some concrete blocks. They are, I don't know, in some places they come close to my chin, from the river, 3,000 feet down state line. And there are a couple of pedways that have board closures in them that in case of a flood my understanding is do get sandbagged in addition. They have tied this wall into the levee wall this past year. And we are hopefully now protected. Although, again, who was expecting 16 inches of snow, 3 inches of rain, frozen ground, and as Bill always says, you can't put 10 gallons of water in a 5-gallon bucket.
What's it look like right now? What's the river look like at the state line? I mean, how close to the top is it?
No, there is still room on the levee wall. We are still down from the top of the levee, I would say every bit of 3 or 4 feet. Again, our bigger concern is the detention pond across the state line because that is lower than the levee, which is why the tiebacks were put up. The tiebacks were put up to be even with the levee and give us the additional protection that we did not receive because of the low detention pond in Cal City.
All right, Lori. Well, I'm glad things are working out. Lori, if you guys have been a longtime follower of the show, has been very vocal and at times has been emotionally distraught over the years during these big rains. 5 years ago, if it rained like this, what would happen?
Well, I would not have gone to work. I did go to work yesterday.
All right.
I would have spent the whole day in and out and about the river and the neighborhood trying to make sure that we were safe, that if it was water, that somebody was able to make a phone call. But I actually did go to work yesterday.
Way to go.
Hey, way to go.
Yeah, way to go is right. Well, I mean, Lori, I've followed your plight over these years. And, it's honestly, it's people like you. As my dad used to say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Absolutely.
And I don't know how you're going to take this, but you have certainly been a squeaky wheel, and that is what needs to happen for governmental bodies to act sometimes. And you got on them, and I know that your feelings about the Army Corps of Engineers have been up and down over the years. Would that be?
That would be accurate. Yep.
Or that would actually be kind of inaccurate because you've
well,
expressed.
You're right. I'm probably more critical than praising of them.
You got it. Well, hopefully you'll stay dry today. Thanks a lot, Lori.
Okay, thanks a lot, and I appreciate the compliment of being the squeaky wheel. I work really hard to be that.
All right, thank you so much. Hey, listen, Jimmy Mullaney, you either have to zoom in on this chart or you have to learn how to bring it up here on the screen for people. Go to Little Calumet River Basin and .org, and then I want you to bring up the Dyer chart, not the Highland chart. And here's why. And you guys can be your own flood watchers. What you need to watch is what the flood levels are in Dyer, because honestly, it's the water that comes from South County that causes a lot of the problems along the Little Calumet River. So when I was talking to Chief Timmer at midnight, we were discussing the levels in Dyer. At the time, it looked like they had plateaued, and so that means that they're not getting more water. So what they have has to be dumped on Highland, Munster, and Hammond over here, and then it can go on the Little Cal. And once it plateaus in Dyer, then that means that perhaps it can plateau, I think, like 8 or 9 hours later in Hammond and Highland. So you can see it on the charts right now. If you can bring that chart up, and that is very good work there by Jimmy Mullaney for both our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube watchers. That is the chart right there in Dyer, and I will describe this, is that it shot straight up from 2 to about 15 and a half in Dyer, and that is starting to get a lot of people nervous when it got up around 15 and a half. And that's when I talked to Chief Timmer, was right around when it got up over 15 in Dyer, or right around 15 in Dyer. And he's like, well, I don't know, man. We're going to close Kennedy, and we're going to see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't keep going. Well, it has not, and it has come down considerably. You can see on the screen right now that is the case, and what the gauges are telling us, what instruments we have agree. So there it is. Now, Jimmy, can you put up the Highland one? And to show a difference here to you folks that are watching, and I'll describe it for the radio people, bring up the Highland graph now also. Now, the Highland graph has not come down. The Dyer graph went straight up, and then it's V-ing straight down. It's like an upside-down parabola, and it's starting to do that. Now, in Highland, on the same thing, is still going up, and it looks like it has just now plateaued, or maybe hasn't quite. So what you have is a line that's gone straight up in Highland to right around 15 feet on the flood stage. What do they call that? The gauge height. and it has not started to turn down. So it all is kind of where it is, what we expected is that as soon as Dyer started to plateau or going down, then maybe we would plateau 8 or 9 hours later in Highland and Munster and Hammond and Griffith and that kind of thing. So that's what we're seeing. Excellent job there, Jimmy. Let's talk to Dave from Crown Point. Dave, you were already the topic of discussion this morning.
I was.
Yeah, is this the one? Are you the Dave that called in yesterday upset about the Lake County or the Little Calumet River tax?
Dave Heckle, often. Dave from Crown Point, often replicated but never duplicated. Yeah, that's me.
You know, Dave, I did not have time to go into that topic you had yesterday, but a number of people heard it and they weren't real happy. Do you mind reiterating your feelings on this?
Well, I thought I made it perfectly clear. Unfortunately, maybe I called it the wrong time during your show. But here's my concern is, for all intents and purposes, over the course of the last few days, we've had what could be considered an average weather episode here in northwest Indiana. And that river has come inches from busting over its banks. The banks for which we've paid millions of dollars over the course of the last 5-6 years since we've been paying this Lake County Little Calumet River Basin Commission tax. So my concern is, Jim, this summer, maybe next summer, or the summer after that, I hope it doesn't happen, but Hurricane Hidalgo is going to be in the Gulf of Mexico. And at some point, we're going to get the remnants of a hurricane here in northwest Indiana like we did in 2008. And we're going to get 5, 6, maybe 7 inches of rain in a 2-day period. I'm just curious to hear the people that have angst and consternation against Dave from Crown Point after my comments yesterday. When that river ultimately goes over its banks, how are they going to feel paying $45 a year for a tax and that river can't be harnessed? It's going to happen. And we've had an average weather episode here, and that thing has almost went over its banks. I went down there a couple of times yesterday, and we dodged a bullet. You guys dodged a bullet. But I'll be honest with you, I lived in Schlacker for 5-6 years. I lived a half a block from that river, and I knew the potential risks living in that neighborhood. I paid for my flood insurance, and I knew someday that thing may go over its banks. But that's the chance I took when I decided to move into that neighborhood.
Well, look at what we just had a phone call from Lori, who has been a massive critic of both the commission and the Army Corps, but more so the Army Corps. She had this in years past, they'd be underwater. Right now, she's not. Is that a somewhat of a mark of an achievement?
Yeah, for an average weather, and I reiterate, Jim, you know as well as I do, what we had was not a perfect storm. It was an average weather episode here in northwest Indiana, and that thing came from inches from going over its banks. Okay, that's my point. We've been the entire county has been paying $45 a residential household for how many years now? And here's the bigger issue I've got. Here in Lake County, with the multiple layers of government we've got, I understand having to make an initial investment into bringing that river up to par. Repay and Baker made it perfectly clear. Pump stations had to be replaced. This had to be replaced. That had to be replaced. I get it. After years of neglect, I understand having to make an initial investment. But every year, pumping millions of dollars into that thing, it's still almost flooding, and we're continuing to put the same amount of money into it. That's what I have an issue with. At some point, Mother Nature is going to take over. You could dump $100 million into that river every day, and if we get enough rain, it's still going to flood.
Well, where'd you grow up, in Hammond?
Yeah, I grew up in Hessville, and I lived in Schlacker for a few years.
Yeah, so here's the deal. I think that if you grew up in Hessville and lived in Schlacker, you have a general understanding that we live in an area that was once underwater, or once under Lake Michigan right here, and we are always going to have that threat. So what do you see as a solution here, Dave?
Mother Nature is going to take its course regardless of what you do. My issue is having to pay a tax year after year and not getting my money's worth out of my investment. There's only so much money you could dump into that river. You're not going to make it flood-proof, because I'm telling you, Jim, if it don't happen this summer, it's going to happen down the road where we're going to get 6 inches of rain in 2 days. I want to hear the residents, when those residents of Munster are bailing out again after that, I want to hear them singing the praises of the Little Calumet River Basin Commission for the money they've invested into that river when they're flooding, when they're bailing out their basements again.
Thanks a lot, Dave, for your comments. We appreciate it. Talk to you. Hey, guys, 641 in the Calumet region. You guys got a hold. We are loaded. We got a lot of sponsors. We appreciate everybody that has come forward in the last couple of months. And I got to tell you, just make no mistake about it. It is because of our presence on local streaming video on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. We're at a 100% retention rate right now, and we've got new people all the time. If your business hasn't called us, you're losing out, because you got to have a presence on local streaming video. We'll be right back here on the voice and face of the region.
Rush Radio Surgery deploys revolutionary technology in the fight against prostate cancer in just 5 outpatient treatments. With radiosurgery treatment for prostate cancer, there is no pain, no surgery, and you can go back to your normal activities right after treatment. Prostate cancer does not fight fair, and neither should you. For more information, contact Rush Radio Surgery at 312-942-4600 or visit us at rushradiosurgery.com.
No case is typical. Results will vary by patient, and there's no guarantee other patients will experience these results. Winter weather got you down? Wish you had a brand new SUV with all-wheel drive? Come check out Napleton's River Oaks Honda, Northwest Indiana's destination for new and certified pre-owned Honda CRVs and Pilots. You can also check out the 2018 Honda Accord. Need another reason? How about a free smartwatch with a test drive? But hurry, this offer won't last. Come find out why you'll get our best deal at River Oaks Honda, right off 8094 on Torrance Avenue or online at riveroakshonda.com.
Mapleton, second to none since 1931.
Must be 18 years or older with valid driver's license. Limit 1 per household. No purchase necessary while supplies last.
Carpenters Local 599 joins with other Carpenter locals to build the local economy and has been doing so for over 117 years. We are proud to be a member of the Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio Regional Council of Carpenters, which is threefold: training, professionalism, and partnership. We also offer some of the best benefits in the industry. To find out how to become a member of Carpenters Local 599, contact us at 219-942-0518 or log on to ikorcc.com.
Need a ride? Call Dial-A-Ride, 932-2530, then hit number 4 on your telephone. Dial-A-Ride is free public transportation for North Township residents, sponsored by Frank J. Mervan, North Township trustee. Rides available weekdays 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. Dispatch call center open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Accessible vehicles available. To schedule a ride, call 932-2530, then press number 4. Dial-A-Ride service and this message, sponsored by Frank J. Mervan, North Township trustee.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? AM 1230 WJOB on 104.7 FM. I'm Jim Deedlow, host of JED and Region. Bring it up on my phone, Ryan. You can't talk to me while I'm on the air. All right? And 6:44 here is the time. And what we have is 294 around the city, moving along pretty well. 80 going east and west, looks good. Your problem is on the Bishop Ford, as it is at 130th. They've closed both exits and close the right lane, and that's backing things all the way up to the 80-94 split there by almost by Torrance. So Bob from Hammond called in and said stay off the Bishop Ford. He called it early. He's right. Go on a little bit, and it's actually bad on the Dan Ryan from 95th to 67th. So get 2 pretty bad spots going up that way. Sorry to tell you that. It's going to take just a few seconds off the very end of your life to go up the Bishop Ford and Dan Ryan today. Skyway Toll Road looked pretty good, though. You want to pay the money, just like everything else in life. You kind of get what you pay for. And if you go to the toll road and the Skyway, you might be able to avoid most of that or all of it. As you approach Jane Byrne, that's not even that bad on the Dan Ryan. Tell you what, on a miracle of miracles, the Borman's moving along well in both directions. So is I-65, even through the construction zone way to the south. US 30 is moving well, and even Klein Avenue, no reported delays. Anybody call me and tell me about that big pothole on northbound Client Avenue? What did they do with that? Were they able to patch it yesterday? I know they have certain kinds of asphalt. I don't even know if they're making it yet. So I don't know what they would patch that with. I think you can mix very small batches of an asphalt that can actually be put down when it's really cold, and even when it's raining. There's a kind. So maybe they put some down there, and we're able to close that off. This time yesterday, we had reports of as many as 30 cars getting flat tires on that big pothole. Let's go to line 6. And who is that? All right, let's go to Bob on line 6. Bob, what's up?
They threw some cold patch in that pothole yesterday, but this morning it's coming out. It's not going to stay in there. But you got another problem is going eastbound 8094 to exit northbound Klein Avenue right underneath the 94 overpass. That whole those 2 lanes on that ramp there, it's completely flooded. It's a river going across the ramp here down underneath 94.
So hold on a second. I never go that way. When you're going eastbound on 80
to get off northbound Klein Avenue.
Where does the ramp go?
The ramp leads to northbound Klein Avenue.
Yeah, but does it go? It goes below the Borman.
It goes below the Borman. Yes,
yeah.
It's underneath the Borman where the problem is. It's all flooded under there.
It's not backing things up. It's just a hassle.
It's a hassle, and when I took it this morning, when it's dark out, you couldn't really see until you got right on it, and it's like, oh my God, the whole road's gone.
So back to that big pothole, they're not making asphalt, so they can make small batches of cold patch and throw that in. Can they?
Yeah, well, they got cold patch on at the yard usually throughout the winter.
Oh, they do. They keep it right at the
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Hey, thanks for that update,
right.
man. Seek and ye shall find. I just asked, and he called within a few seconds. So there's the answer on that big pothole on Klein Avenue. So traffic brought to you by Napleton River Oaks Honda, right over here on Torrance and Lansing. Let's take a look at the weather going forward. This one's brought to you by Laborers Local 41, of which I am a proud alum. I want to say special thanks to the laborers, to the electricians, and the iron workers, and to the carpenters. All 4 of these trades stepped up, and I said, hey, I needed some dough to get some things done, and they have been longtime sponsors here, and I'll give it to them as they came up when we needed it. And right now, Laborers 41 sponsors a beautiful day later as clouds giving way to some sun and much colder, and a high of only 31. And then tomorrow, a high of 37, partly sunny. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, a high in the mid-40s, but you get some pretty good rain through Friday and Saturday. So today's your cold one, then it warms up a little bit. The big news on the weather overnight is that the rain stops sometime in the middle of the night, and I guess it's a part of the weathercast is that in Dyer, where everybody watches, all these flood watchers, and if Jimmy can flash that Dyer, what do you call the chart again? Little Calumet River Basin chart. It crested, looks like sometime in the middle of the night, and it is now moving down considerably on the level through Dyer where the gauge is over there off of US 30. Here in Highland by Kennedy Avenue is still closed, and Northcott is still closed. Well, we just got text that Holman Avenue is opening shortly between Hammond and Munster over the Little Cal River. The gauges are telling us that it's kind of plateaued in Highland, which is typical as we're looking at a gauge right now as Dyer has certainly gone up around 15 feet. Now it's come down and it's just over 12. So that's a couple of feet it's dropped in the last several hours. And if you go to the Highland chart, you see that it's just kind of reached and it's just kind of plateauing at the top. Hopefully it doesn't keep going up, but it looks like it's ready to start pointing down. And so that's good news. You can follow it yourself at littlecalumetriverbasin.org, as I'm sure they have just blown up their numbers on their website overnight. All right, let's take some phone calls with you guys. That's really the news around here. If you're driving around and you don't normally listen or watch here, we have a big river and a big ditch that come right through the middle of hundreds of thousands of people. And when they fill up, they have certainly flooded in the past. Jimmy showed the picture of Target in Maryville yesterday. I mean, it isn't right there. It's not just the Little Cal and the Hart Ditch. This entire area is a kind of a low point at the bottom of Lake Michigan, and we had some localized flooding yesterday. But we did not get the Little Cal and Hart Ditch going over their banks, and hallelujah for that. We just had a guy call in by the name of Dave that had some very direct opinions about what we're doing here, and you guys can chime in on that. He basically said Hurricane Hidalgo was going to come into the Gulf, and we're going to get it. And we just had an average rain. What happens when we have a big rain? And will we eventually flood? And he said the people in Munster, Highland, Griffith are not going to like it because Munster and all these areas are not flood proof. What do you guys say to that? And once again, our level of anxiety around here, I would give 8.5 out of 10. All right, let's go to, is that Paul on line 2? No, all right, let's go to Lenny on line 1. Lenny, how you been?
Hey, been doing good, Jim. Hey, that $45 a year I'm paying, if that keeps the Borman open during a time like this, that's money well spent. Because if that Borman shuts down, this whole area is a cluster, as you well know. And I just wanted to add a few South County, Turkey Creek, flood basin, tributary notes of traffic. 77th Street in Schererville between Austin and Klein is closed. That's by just north of the Chapel Lawn Cemetery. That tributary into Turkey Creek is overflowing on 77th Street.
All right, hold on a second. So where is that from the roundabout?
Roundabout, you head west to the next street, Austin. That's where the
that's where the
yeah.
So to put that for people, it's just to the south of US 30. Most people know where Chapel Lawn Cemetery is. It's on the west end of Chapel Lawn Cemetery, and on the east end is that big roundabout. That roundabout's fine.
Right, the roundabout's fine, but you just can't take the 77th Street. It pushes you down to 85th Street if you need to go onward. And 85th yesterday, that was Lake Hills was overflowing 85th Street as it got 85th Street. Two other traffic items to note. The lights are flashing red at 30 and Burr. Not an issue. Traffic's moving through. And there's that ever-present geyser between Scapel Buick and Mueller's Acura, where water just comes up at about 3 feet out of some sort of sewer. So those car lots are flooded. No cars are in the flood, but something to note.
So hold on a second. Tell me about this geyser.
Well, just it's between Scapel Buick and the newer dealer. It's called Mueller Acura. And every time we get a good rain, it floods. But today, it's actually, you see a geyser. It's actually coming up through some kind of a store, and it's shooting up at about 2 feet. So there's always a big puddle. It doesn't come close to 30, but it's still, 20 yards from 30. And those two lots are, I would say, under about 4 feet of water. It kind of looks like the Target photo.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I mean, it is what it is. Lenny, good coverage on that. We appreciate it.
Always, Jim.
Talk to you.
Show.
Thanks a lot, buddy. 219-845-1100. Let's go to Jim on line 2. Jim, what's up?
Hey, I was just calling in to comment on Dave from Crown Point.
Mm-hmm.
I live right next to the river, and there's probably 3 to 4 feet between the water and the top of the dike by me. But, part of the thing that's happened that's changed, because he says this is a normal weather event, they've basically paved over probably half of South County. There's no place for the water to go. The ground can't absorb it. So my fix to the Little Cal is to put a dam on Hart Ditch at Main Street. Let South County deal with the water that they've created.
Well, you got right to the core issue here, and that is there's a lot of people in South County that don't want to be paying the $45, yet they've moved over there and they've paved over the land that they're on. So, who's right in this? And there's been a ton of businesses. And we need to get Mr. Ron Hunter in here one day to explain it to us exactly what this is ultimately going to do, because those areas cannot absorb the water that they once did, and they winds up right here on Hart Ditch and Little Calumet River. The question, I don't know what to do with that because there is a divide in our county on the $45. There's really kind of a divide socially and culturally also, but it really comes out when you start talking about the river. So.
Yeah, and the $45. I mean, it's was this a normal weather event? Yes and no, but I mean, I really don't see any flooding happening. There's some streets that are flooded. I mean, I think Holman was closed because it flooded under the Borman. I don't believe that has anything to do with the Little Cal per se. It's just a lot of water. The ground is frozen and it has no place to go.
Well, there you go. Hey, St. Stanislaus off for e-learning day. It doesn't have anything to do with the flooding or anything. Same thing with.
I think that was an ice condition.
Was it? What
they
is
were worried about ice.
Yeah, I've got right here. We're all we know is St. Kaz and St. Stanislaus are off today, or they're going to have an e-learning day, is what they're calling
e-learning days.
I don't know, what is that? You're closed, but you're in contact with the students. That's not a bad idea.
Yes, in fact, Hammond does that too. The Hammond Public Schools have just started doing it, so that the teachers they give assignments online, and the students are supposed to do the assignments at home.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Talk to you.
Okay.
219-845-1100. People calling in on the local 599 phone line. Once again, we're trying to get our basketball sold. We have cut a deal with the IHSAA. Region Sports is going to help us out, Chris Ramirez and his guys. And we're going to go to Chesterton, Lake Central, Hammond, and Whiting, and we're going to video those games, and you'll be able to watch them on your phones. It'll only be on Facebook Live. We won't have Twitter and YouTube, at least not right away. But if you want to sponsor that, all you got to do is get a hold of Ryan and defray some of those costs. I'm going to have my Purdue Northwest Sports Broadcasting students are going to come out. And we've got a couple of high school students are also going to see what it's like for a fire drill of another sort when you're trying to do broadcasting from 4 sites at one time. We'll see if it works. Knock, knock. Who's there? Who knows? Hey, what number are we going to? Let's go to Toll Road on line 5. Toll Road, what do you think?
What do I think? Well, happy Wednesday. Or is it Tuesday? I lose track of the days. They go so fast. Hey, I would respectfully disagree that this was an average rate event, considering that we had 18 inches of snow sitting on the ground, and then the rains came, and that all melted in conjunction with the rains that we had. However, I do understand that, bigger rain events could be coming, and that's the focus on what we look at down the road on the Little Cal Commission, because, you got 100 gallons of water and trying to put it in a 5-gallon bucket, something's going to give. But I gotta send thanks out to all the partners that we have along the river, all the various towns and cities that help us out. And we've been following the game plan to a T with the direction of Dan Repay, and making sure that we stay ahead of the closures and everything that we have to do to make sure that we keep the residents safe and make sure we don't have a 2008 event.
Tom, how long you been on that commission?
I came on right after Baker, so I think Baker's got since like 2008, and I came in right after that in maybe 2009.
And
so
you
7 years.
Yeah, did you hear the comments from Dave from Crown Point this morning?
Yeah, I mean, I respect his opinion, and what I think that people miss is, and you brought it up earlier in the show, you look at the gauges on Hardstitch and Dyer, and that gauge jumps up from 2 to 15. That water is going to be eventually coming to the river. And just because the river is at a certain point during the day, we look at more of what's going to happen in the next 24 hours, because that water is going to be coming from the south to the north. And the previous caller said it right. We're paving over everything, and that's great that there's development going in South County, but where's that water going to go? It's going to go down the Little Cal. It's going to go down a deep river. It's going to go through all the tributaries throughout the county. And when you have that much water and frozen ground, you're going to have problems. And obviously, we can't mitigate every problem in the county, but our purpose is to make sure that the Little Cal is doing what it's supposed to do, from the state line to the Porter County line, and now we're making sure it's even farther than that, because that water's got to get out to Lake Michigan.
Last night,
it's basically a wall. It's a wall of water, Jim, coming from the south to the north.
Last night, hold on, Tom. Last night I went out to Hart Ditch at about 10:30, and Munster had a big sandbagging operation going. They had a bunch of kids and volunteers filling at the garage, about 25 of them. Then they had another 25, 30 people putting another layer along Hart Ditch. I saw that water coming down. I've been to rapids in Colorado that weren't moving that fast, and certainly that whole bathtub was entirely filled. It looks as if almost Hart Ditch was just as much of a concern as the Little Cal last night. Any comments on that?
We continuously discuss the issues as it relates to the Hart Ditch that's going into the Little Cal. And one of the comments that came up in some of our discussions over the last months is Hart's Ditch used to be able to jump over it. It just used to be a little stream. And now this thing is this huge tributary that goes, from Dyer to through Munster and into the Little Cal. And it's definitely on the radar as to, like you said, in this big event like this, that water's coming like a roaring rapids. And people also have to be cognizant. They got to be safe out there. I was talking to Dan yesterday. Some people are walking up to that thing. You put your foot in that water and you get caught, you're gone.
That was part. My brother-in-law and I were hanging out there, and I was kind of bent over to look, and he grabbed me because it was a real short wall right where we were at. I was looking. I just could not believe that we could have water that moving that fast. We don't have mountains that we could have water moving that fast in the Calumet region. I mean, literally, think of if we've all been out west thinking of those rapids, and that was my thought. I'm like, what if somebody falls in, man? I don't know. I don't know what would happen.
If they fell in, Jim, they would have bought it. They're gone.
All right.
See you later.
Tom, thanks for calling in. We appreciate it. Thanks for your service on the Little Cal Commission.
Well, everybody out there be safe, and if you don't have to do laundry today, don't do laundry.
You got it, man. Thanks a lot. Talk to you. That's a good point. Hey, let's go to Mad Mac. Mad Mac, my apologies. Go forward. Forget about how long you had to wait. Go ahead.
Hey, how come we're not doing like a kayak program, a little economic development, show the kids some nature and stuff? Don't we have that kayak launch over on Kennedy there?
Well, Mad Mac, as you were just listening right now, if you had anybody that even remotely got on that Hart Ditch right now in a kayak, it would be very similar to a whitewater rafting thing coming down from Ridge Road all the way down along Wicker Park there. It was that fast last night.
Yeah, how about, what's that guy, who's that guy that always said, get outside, that was on the radio before with you?
Conservation Mike. Yeah.
Conservation Mike, get outside, kids. Get out there, do a couple laps.
Go outside, yeah.
Go outside, do something, whatever. Listen, I'm on site actually at this patch on Klein Avenue. It turns out the county's got a new program here. It's like a work release thing. They're filling that hole right now with Sheriff Sausage Fingers. They're stuffing him in the hole, and if he stays there a month, he gets like 3 months freebie off his sentence. So they're filling him in that hole right now. We're going to see how that goes, because he's not going to flake off and degrade or anything. So they're going to give that a try. What do you think of that, huh?
Well, outside of Mad Mac's rather impolite comments, there has been a large pothole on Klein Avenue right around the toll road exit there that caused a lot of flat tires yesterday, and they put some cold patch in it. And if you guys know cold patch is temporary, and with all those big trucks going over it, who knows how long that'll hold. But at least the state or whoever put that out there filled that in, Mad Mac, because from what I understood, it's pretty bad out there.
Yeah, now they're filling it with cold sausage, so we'll see if that works.
I tried to redirect you out of that, and you just had to come back to it, didn't you?
You had to laugh. That's a good one, man.
I'm not laughing.
I understand I understand these people like Dave from Crown Point and Lori. You know, I mean, I don't know. What are they complaining about? Our county's got a perfect track record with spending money. I mean, we got a booming airport over there. We got economic development near the train stations of Hammond, Gary, and East Chicago. I mean, it literally looks like Lake Forest around those train stations. They've done such a great job. That's going well. We got Cal Township. We not only spend money, we spend 25 to 30 times as much as everybody else in the entire state. I mean, we had the little retail gun running program out of the sheriff's department. We had, Health for Life for every prisoner that walked into the prison to pad the income of the sheriff's little girlfriend, who allegedly just dumped the sheriff. How disrespectful of her, just because the guy got caught stealing money from everybody. So I can understand people being a little skeptical about paying another tax in this county, and nothing going on. But the guy who gets the most credit, I think, would be who's the new surveyor we got? What's that guy's name? Whose dad's on the city council in Hammond for like the last 8,000 years?
Oh, Emerson?
Emerson, yeah. Hey, thank God he got into office with that little scam they pulled down at the county caucus down there. Thank God he slipped in there. Everybody else mysteriously dropped out. He got in, and then 2 weeks later, he gave himself an 85% pay raise. I'm sure his brilliance saved the region from this last flood. I think that's where it's due. Man, I got to tell you.
Are you done? I mean,
I'm
letting you go on because you waited for 47 minutes, and I'll give you that. But
I was on suicide watch during half that time, by the way. But
All right. Well,
hey, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you one question?
Sure.
If we're worried about everything getting cemented over, because we better not cement everything. Now we're not supposed to cement everything over. Hey, slow down with that development when it's raining, but when it's not raining, let's develop like crazy. Because last time I checked, and I'm going to run up and down Calumet Avenue in Munster, I bet I couldn't find a single blade of grass to stand on right now. You guys can't build more cement in Munster from North Calumet to South Calumet, and yet the guys who got 8,000 billion square acres of cornfield down there, they throw up a dome, and now everybody's upset with South County? Geez, you had a gigantic swath of land over by where that steel mill was, where the nice, beautiful soccer field for the little crumb crunchers in Munster. What'd you guys do? We gotta build 80-story towers over here. We gotta pack people in because we're putting a train in.
All right, man. All right. Hey, you got plenty there. Thank you. I appreciate it. 219-845-1100. Let's go to Kenny on line 6. Hey, Kenny, rescue me from the Mad Mac venom.
Oh, boy. Yeah, you can go.
Don't you like following that?
Yeah. Oh, I know. Well, Jim, I am all over the place here. Yesterday, I went to Northcutt. First of all, I plowed snow last week, okay, like crazy and everything. And then we got out of town. My wife and I went away for a few days. So when we left Thursday morning real early, there was 20 inches of snow or whatever the heck that we were plowing for, 3-4 days. And then we came home Monday night, and I'm like, oh my God, where'd all the snow go? And then we got the rain and everything. So, I mean, I know Dave, he's a pretty smart guy out there. A lot of the Daves are smart, but I just remember, Jim, that and then yesterday I was out at Northcutt, and in fact I brought Channel 5 News over to my friends right down on Hart Street, right there in Brentwood, because I'm like, man, you should see this, and that's Hart Ditch, right? I believe.
Yeah, and I saw that you and Kubik did a Facebook Live video, and that got a ton of views because people were like, "Oh my God!" And the woman's in Hart Ditch, anybody, Hart Ditch is like several dozen yards wide. They've taken out the back. It took that woman's fence out in her backyard. I mean, it looked like a war zone.
When I got there about 8:00 that morning, she was out there. She lives right next door to our very, very, very good dear friends. She was out there getting the guys, the 3 doors down, his firewood. And she's out there with a rake. I said, Cheryl, be careful now. You won't be falling or nothing, I mean, that thing was raging. And you know what it reminds me, Jim? I don't care. I always tell people who I am, whatever. I everything comes from the heart with me. You know me. But I lived in Maui for 18 years. and I lived in an area in Haiku. We got 200 right below the rainforest. We got 200 inches a year. I seen rain, dude. I've been through 3 hurricanes over there. In fact, a very, very dear friend of mine, Jimmy Jackman, we had a hurricane, and he built this nice big old house, and he went underneath the house because it went, I mean, he was stupid for doing this, but he went down underneath there, and a damn thing came down on him again. And his wife, Marlene, was a very, very good, dear friend. She had to go run up to the neighbors and get a jack, and they tried jacking him up. This is 100-mile-an-hour winds. And the house came down, man, and crushed him. And I mean, dead on a doornail. This guy was a bad dude, man, from California. I mean, just a rugged, you lived in California, just a builder, 6'1". And it just, I was sitting in bed here thinking about this perfect, it almost was a perfect storm. I mean, where else is water going to go,
Well, if you guys watch that, I mean, Rick Kubik did, just stellar coverage yesterday, going all the way around the region, kind of get you guys an idea. And you go down maybe 8 or 10 videos now on our Facebook feed, and you and Rick are standing on the backside of this woman's house, and all I'm thinking of is if somebody went down there to try to adjust that fence or whatever, and they got caught in that water. I mean, that water is just, it's not even moving that fast there. But down, maybe just several hundred yards to the north, it's it's rapids. I mean, it's right. Look at it. Think of it this way, and I'll describe it to you folks. If you go out in your backyard and all of a sudden there was just like a raging river going from one property line to the next, I mean, you'd be concerned because you don't want your dogs, you don't want your kids, you don't want yourself falling into that. I mean, there is a significant danger during a major rain anymore to be along Hart Ditch.
Oh, Jim, and it goes down 30 feet. If you look at that, I mean, because we're there all the time, and our friends, it goes down 30 feet, and that water came all the way up to the top. I mean, you talk about water coming from the South County. Holy Christ! I mean, for $45, are you kidding me? I mean, I'd pitch in a little bit for some of these people. I got enough of them goofy lots out there in Gary. I pay $45 for every one, and what are you gonna do? I don't know. I kept thinking of poor Jimmy Jackman, man. He never got. He was not even 30 years old, bro, and he was out there trying to save his. I could tell you stories about. Oh boy.
You know what? Let's keep it here local now. But I want to hear more about Jimmy Jackman at some other point. Thanks a lot, Kenny.
Okay, bro.
Talk to you. 219-845-1100. 1 or 2. Tell me. We got to go to 4. Oh, MX, you've been holding the longest, buddy. Thanks for your patience. What's going on?
What did Granola Bob call it? A cavalcade of deadbeat political hacks?
Yes, hold on. I wrote that down. He goes, at least they don't have a cavalcade of deadbeat political hacks. Yes, here it is. Cavalcade of deadbeat political hacks.
How's Spiros doing, by the way?
I don't know what that means.
Well, let me tell you what it means, Jed. First of all, Dan Repay's doing his job. His job, to me, is to clear the brush out of that river. And when you looked at the Northcott Bridge, there wasn't that much brush and trees up against that bridge. But as I took a picture of that bridge, I went back to Kennedy Avenue to take a picture of that bridge. And I looked over there and seen Spiros' Escalade that we pay for. But I do want to tell Dan Repay that he's got chest waders, and he needs to put a belt around them chest waders. Because if he does go in and you don't have a belt on that chest waders, you're going down. Here's another thing. I think what Dave from Crown Point is saying, we can always do better. And I noticed that when the water was coming west, hitting the Northcott Bridge, when I went to the Kennedy Avenue Bridge, the water was backflowing the other way. So actually, there's more engineering work to be done for safety. And Griffith Golf Course, if I was Rick Reif and the boys, I would think twice about building on that. You know what I mean?
You know, I don't even know. Did that fill up with water yesterday or today?
You know what? That's a good question. I didn't go that way, but I would really advise not to build. I didn't see any golfers out there.
Here's the question. Okay, now you do come to a question. You have people all over the Calumet region that are building on their land, and that is part of the problem. And we all know that, okay? Munster's claiming all their land and building on some areas. Tons of building in Dyer, Cherville, St. John, Crown Point. All of that is contributing to all the water that comes up to the north part of the county. So why should Griffith be penalized? They have a huge plot of land there they could develop. Why should they not develop it just because of water reasons? Nobody in South County is not developing because of water reasons. Why is it their responsibility to keep that open to take excess water from South County? That's basically what would be happening. Griffith would be taking water from South County and storing it until it could go on out to Lake Michigan. And then, so they don't get to develop it, but everybody and their brother in South County is developing whenever they feel like it with no restrictions.
Okay, here's another thing. Well, it's a proven fact that Griffith Golf Course floods. I think we need to build the bridge higher at Northcott. It's just, but then again, do you leave well alone? But I think the water, when it hit the bridge, because it's too low, that bridge needs to be higher.
They couldn't build it higher. They couldn't build it higher. They didn't have enough room for a ramp, and without taking out houses. They would have had to take out houses, if I remember correctly. And you're right. That's the lowest bridge. And
do you really need a bridge there?
That's another question. If it's that big of a, you really do kind of need a bridge there, because think about it. Think about all of the ambulances that go to community hospital and so forth. You need a bridge there for safety reasons. Otherwise, Schlacker and the north part of Munster, you can't get out of there.
Well, they just need to. I'm sure they could. If they could build a skyscraper, they can build a taller bridge, Jed.
All right, man. I got to go. Thanks a lot. We got Gloria Morris coming up in just a second. Hey, Jim and Zube and Mary and Stan, I'm so sorry, guys, but you got to hold on. I got to take an interview, and let's pay some bills. We'll be right back.
When you're in the dark, where do you turn to find a trusted professional who can assure the safety of your home or business electrical system? Certified Electrician is here to help. Looking for a highly skilled electrical contractor for your next construction project? CertifiedElectrician.com is where to find one. We connect you with pre-screened electrical professionals living right here in Northwest Indiana. Experts in residential, commercial, voice data video, and signage. Certified Electrician can fulfill all your electrical needs. Visit CertifiedElectrician.com.
Do you have a family history of heart disease or diabetes? St. Catherine Hospital Cardiovascular Prevention Center providers are offering free assessments to help determine your risk for heart disease and other related medical conditions. On Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 9 to 11:30 a.m., you can stop by the center at 7217 Indianapolis Boulevard in Hammond for assessments like an ABI leg circulation test, blood pressure, body mass index, random glucose assessment, and more. You must be 18 or older, and walk-ins are welcome. You have only one body. Let St. Catherine Hospital of Community Healthcare System help you take care of it. You can also call 219-392-7CVP to book an appointment today.
What gets you fired up when you think about college? Explore your roar at Purdue University Northwest. With 2 exciting campuses in Hammond and Westville, more than 70 areas of study, and NCAA Division II athletics, Purdue Northwest offers it all at an excellent value. Learn more at pnw.edu and apply today. That's pnw.edu. Join the pride at Purdue Northwest.
As the preacher once said, the best kept secret in Lake County, Spike's Lakeside Inn 2. Restaurant and bar, Cherville, Indiana. Serving seafood at its finest. Lenten specials, also full sandwich and dinner menu. Homemade soups with full salad bar. For your adult dining in a comfortable atmosphere, come join us at Spike's Lakeside 2. Located at 21 East Joliet Street, Cherville, Indiana. Next to the police station, across from Town Hall. For reservations, call 322-4444. Serving Thursday through Sunday. Remember, 25% off your dining bill on Thursdays and Sundays. Follow us on Facebook. Hope to see you at Spike's Lakeside 2.
Hi, Spike. How are you? Talk about an East Sider, man. He's got old school written all over him, and it is it's a gem. You know what I mean? I think it's time for me to just. I've been going out to Crown Point and Cherville a lot lately, so maybe it's time, huh? Hey, you know what? Here's the deal. I'm a little pissed off, to be honest with you. I've got this little rotation where I go and I announce along with Dave Kuziak and John Pagatti all of the games of the East Chicago sectional, and it's been a pretty good routine. And I'd go over there, and a lot of times it would be Goss and Weisenora, and then we would wind up going out for a couple pops afterwards. But on the way there, I'd stop at Taco Riel maybe 2 times during the week, and maybe 3. And I'd get my dinner, and then I'd go over and do a couple of games, and it was a nice little routine. And now that's going to be at Lake Central, and I'm starting to warm up to it. I know that Lake Central spent a lot of money to redo their gymnasium, and they've got good internet, from what I understand, which is a key for us. But maybe that'll be the stop on the way in. Spike's Lakeside Inn. I hadn't thought about it. I go, where can I go where I feel real region before I go over and do the region's biggest sectional basketball games? And now we're going to be on video and so forth. Spike's Lakeside Inn. Now I know what you're thinking. You're like, Jed, how are you going to go over to Spike's and not have a couple pops before you go do the game? Well, remember 4 Friends in a Funeral? It's a mystery. It's a mystery. Hey, let's take a look at traffic. 294 around the city looks pretty good. 80 going east and west looks pretty good also. And your problem has been all morning long is on the Bishop Ford and the Dan Ryan. Bishop Ford has problems at 130th, which is at the base of the Steel Bridge. That's backed up all the way past 159th. That's 30 blocks of stop and go. After that, it opens up through the merge, but then you hit another bad patch on the southern end of the Dan Ryan, 95th to 67th. That is a bad way to go. Bob from Hammond called it at about 5:45. Stay off the Bishop Ford, and it has not changed. Do not go that way if you can help it. Skyway and the toll road, you get what you pay for today, as you are flying pretty clear on both those roads. And then you hit the northern part of the Dan Ryan, and it is abnormally clear this morning. So pretty good ride in if Skyway Toll Road Dan Ryan. The Borman is miraculously moving, and so is Klein Avenue, even through that area where they cold patched on that massive pothole. 65 US 30 also looked pretty good this morning. Traffic brought to you by Napleton River Oaks Honda, proudly serving Northwest Indiana with superior customer service. And I don't see my spiral binder here. Here it is. This Facebook Live video, along with Twitter video and YouTube video of this section, is brought to you by Rush Radio Surgery. They're on the west side of Chicago. And hey, you know what? If you get a cancer diagnosis in a family, that's where you want to start, right there. RushRadioSurgery.com. I talked to somebody yesterday who had gone through that. They started at RushRadioSurgery.com, and they saw somebody there, got a second opinion, and are still seeing their local doctor, but at least have that level of comfort at a correct diagnosis. All right, weather. This one's brought to you by our good friends at Ironworkers Local 395. They build stuff, a high of 31. It's right there right now, 31 degrees here at the Strachan Van Til Studios on the campus of Purdue Northwest. Ryan, can you give me today's flyer? It's Wednesday for Strachan Van Til. The new flyer comes out. You should take it out of the Post or the Times and just kind of look at it. Remember, you're thinking of going to grocery shopping. You're a region person. You're listening to WJOB. Much of what is able for us to happen has been a huge investment in what we're doing by Jeff Strack and the Van Til families to, use us as for a good portion of their advertising and to buy the naming rights for these studios. Hey, give it back to them and go shop there. And that's all there is to it. Right now, you can get $3.49 a pound for beef chuck roast, and center cut pork chops are only $2.49 a pound. And sockeye salmon fillet is $8.99. I got to tell you, I will be there today for the sockeye salmon. That sockeye salmon, and nothing against that farm-raised salmon that is, just a little bit different. But the sockeye salmon is usually significantly more than $8.99 a pound. And I won't buy it because it's too expensive, and I'm Polish Dutch. And this is no lie. I was going through one of my chests one day. I literally have a savings bond from my communion from my uncle Dwayne and Aunt Irene back in the day. So I do still have my communion money. So every dollar counts. Sockeye salmon is a great value right now at $8.99 a pound. As a matter of fact, it freezes well too. All right, there you go. High of 31 today, a high of 37 tomorrow, partly sunny. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, high in the mid-40s. What's going on March 9th, you asked? What are you doing on March 9th, huh? That's a Friday, and you're a region person, and you like eating region food, right? I mean, that's what we're all about here. We're talking about our rivers. We're all coming together to collaborate and discourse and disagree with each other. We're just region people when it's all said and done. Well, how would you like to go somewhere and taste 40 restaurants from around the region? Gloria Morris is going to tell us how that can happen. Gloria, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you guys doing this morning?
Doing well. You staying dry?
I am staying off the roads. My kids have a 2-hour delay today, too. So, we're inside.
Your kids are, I'm guessing, at Lake Central then. Is that right?
Correct, my son.
Yeah, so Lake Central, once again, and that is scrolling across the Facebook and Twitter and YouTube feeds, and you can see that Lake Central has been on a 2-hour delay. I forgot to mention that. What is the Service League of Northwest Indiana, Gloria?
Service League, wow, it's just an amazing group of women. There's about 30 of us, and I'm a very new member, but some of these women have been in this organization for 15, 20 years. And it's a group that basically is a non-for-profit that serves nonprofits. So it's unusual in that regard. We don't have just one mission, but we carry out different fundraising activities, volunteer activities for organizations, about 24, 25 of them across the entire Northwest Indiana area.
And so you have Taste of the Region. This thing's been going on for a while, right?
It has. This is, I believe, the 5th year. This is actually the first year that I'm going to be involved in it. So, years past, they've raised quite a bit of money for these different organizations. So, essentially, it's almost 40 restaurants that we're up to now, but very unique restaurants from the region, basically all of them that we feel, represent the region well with a varied cuisine. And they come in and they donate their time, they donate their food and give you little samplings, all you can eat, and it all goes towards charity.
All right, so it's $65. I noticed Nick Floyd has his people out there. So for $65, how many Nick Floyd beers can you get?
Well, it is all you can eat, all you can drink. So I guess that depends on the person.
Okay, so it's $65, and I'm guessing you're going to have all of the silent raffles and the tables and so forth. What else? What are you going to see here if you come out on Taste of the Region? It's on March 9th, and what will be out there?
The first thing you're going to notice when you walk in is you're going to hear the Unprofessionals playing in the background, and they're a group of professionals. Not sure if you've heard of them or seen them, but they're great. They're just a great time. So they'll be providing the entertainment. But yes, you mentioned the auction. Our auction is very significant and large this year, very much like years past. But we've got a lot of different travel packages. We're going to have a whole sports memorabilia section sponsored by one of our partners, Absolute Memorabilia. Tons of different local offerings from spas to you name it. There's going to be so many different options out there for the auction. And again, those are donated from local businesses so that the proceeds that you purchase these items for, which are great for you, are going to be great for these organizations we support.
There it is. And of course, some of those are Meals on Wheels and the Westminster Soup Kitchen. It'll be March 9th. It'll be at Halls of St. George. And what is the time? I don't see a time on here.
Yes, it's going to start at 7 o'clock and end around 11. Our auction's probably going to end around 10:15. One of the other unique things is even if you can't attend the event, you will be able to participate in our auction. So all of the information is there on the website. But yeah, it starts at 7.
And the website is?
ServiceLeagueNWI.org. And you'll see all the information that Taste the Region right there.
Okay, and that is on. Where can people get tickets?
Same place. So if you go to that website, or you can actually go to our direct event page, which is case18.gesture.com.
Okay,
And that's where you can actually sign up for, registration for your tickets. We've got a number of sponsors that have signed up. So, yeah, everything's listed right there on that page.
all right. You can also start. I think serviceleaguenwi.org is a good place to start. Hey, thank you
That's
so
right.
much, Gloria. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, we just look forward to having you guys out. We'll see you on the night.
Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
All right.
7:30 in the Calumet region. South Shore westbound train 112 or 111? 112 delayed due to passenger interference. Hold on a second. Say that again. South Shore train. Let me look this up here, which one that is. Do you know what time that would be at East Chicago? Let me find out what time that would be at East Chicago on the South Shore train westbound. Train schedules. Okay, westbound. And Monday through Friday. Let's look here. Let's say from East Chicago. Gosh, they do this so. It really. I just want to see the schedule. You got to put your where you're starting and where you're ending. Blah, blah, blah. All right, so here we go. Monday through Friday. All right, here we go. Purchase tickets. I gotta go as if I'm purchasing a ticket. You know what? I have dealt with this website for years, and it drives me nuts. All right, from East Chicago to Millennium Station, Monday through Friday, purchase tickets. All right, well, it's not letting me do that, but there is a westbound Borman here. Let me get this crap website off my table there, and that is the NICD website. It's just put the damn schedule up on the screen there. There you go. Thank you. All right, so what time would that be at East Chicago? Jimmy Mulaney has just saved us all a moment of calm, and I haven't picked up a screen and thrown it in probably about 8 years, but I have done it in the past. And that time would be, what time would that be at East Chicago? It was supposed to be at 7:15 at East Chicago. Evidently, there's been some passenger interference, and the train's not running. I can't be that critical, as one time I personally stopped the trains also. As I was late, my wife used to take us in our two-door Nissan, and that was not that long ago when kids were littler, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years ago, and she would drive me over there. We didn't have any dough to buy another car. We didn't even have any dough to buy a house, really, but we were able to finagle our way into a small ranch, 742 square foot ranch in Griffith, and we were very happy there. The one challenge of the whole life setup at the point was one car. So she would have to get up in the morning and drive me down to the train. And I got to the East Chicago train right as the train was pulling in, and I just ran up, and everybody was already on the train, and the train had already started moving. I did not quite understand that. And so I jumped in to the train. The door was still open. And if you guys remember back then, now the train is at the level of the doors. Well, back then you actually had to go up on the train was higher. You kind of had to go up on it. So I was able to dive in to the open door at the end of the train car, grab the railing, but my legs were still hanging out of the train. And the conductor came over and pulled me in. And then they had to stop the train so that he could swear at me for about 5 or 7 minutes. But you want to know something? I made it to work on time, and all's well that ends well. No, that was just another example of living life in an disorderly fashion with absolutely no discipline. And I'll tell you what, another way to live life you're only around once, right? And if you're thinking, you're going away for the weekend or something, why don't you go see Vito? See what Vito has to say, huh? Vito's been a long-time sponsor, Vito's Pharmacy. They got the new place right there on Kennedy in Highland. And every once in a while, you're like, hey, let's do something different. It starts with an S and it ends with an L.
Men, are you taking Viagra or Cialis for ED? ED should not stand for expensive drugs. If you're taking Viagra, talk with your doctor about Sildenafil. Now you could get the same active ingredient in Viagra in generic 20 milligram tablets for less than $2 each, saving over $30 per dose. Available at Vito's Pharmacy. Call us 219-228-7200 or visit us at vitospharmacy.com.
Vito's Pharmacy.
If you love the movie Steel Magnolias, you'll really love the play that inspired it. Set in a Louisiana beauty shop, Steel Magnolias is a hilarious, heartwarming play that follows the hopes, dreams, triumphs, and tragedies of 6 colorful characters. Steel Magnolias is playing now through March 25th at Theater at the Center in Munster. For tickets, call 219-836-3255. 836-3255 or visit theateratthecenter.com.
This is Pete Corellis with Corellis Roofing. Over the past months, you've heard on WJOB some of the names of the top roofing and sheet metal craftsmen our industry has to offer. Because of these dedicated craftsmen and many others at Corellis Roofing, we have been fortunate to have had the opportunity to continue to grow our business. We are currently looking for roofing installers at all experience levels. If you are interested in a career, not just a job, if you're interested in medical benefits, not just for you, but for your entire family, if you're interested in an excellent retirement plan, then Corellis Roofing could be the company for you. All applicants must pass a pre-employment drug test and random drug testing throughout their employment. If you are interested in becoming a member of our team, please apply online at Corellis.com or in person at 1333 169th Street in Hammond. Thank you.
Everything Italian. That's what you get at Giuseppe's Restaurant in Cherville.
Hi, this is Joe from Giuseppe's Everything Italian. Here today to let our friends and listeners to WJOB know about the few things that we have added. We offer catering now, catering for your party, family event, or even for businesses. Just give us a call at Giuseppe's at 322-0011 and ask for Joe. Thank you.
Giuseppe's Everything Italian is located at 1000 Eagle Ridge Drive in Cherville, just north of the Showplace Theaters. 219-322-0011 or visit giuseppespizza.net.
If you've been arrested or convicted of a crime in the state of Indiana, listen up. You need legal counsel. Doesn't it make sense to call an attorney who not only knows the law, but who knows the system? I'm Nicole Bennett, a former deputy Lake County prosecutor. I do know the system and how to help you with your criminal case. From traffic tickets to cleaning up your driving record to obtaining specialized driving privileges under the new 2015 Indiana law and misdemeanor and felony charges. And as many of you have experienced, I can even have your criminal record erased. Call me at Westland and Bennett in Cherville, 219-440-7550. Again, 219-440-7550.
Thanks, Nicole. How was your run this morning? 7:38 in the Calumet region. I'm Jim Dietlow, host of JED in the region. We got a final sprint to the end here of my show. It ends at 8 o'clock, and then at 8:05 we have the Munster Chamber of Commerce. And then at 8:35 we have the school city of Hammond. Sam Michael is out this week, and he is set to return at some point. And in the meantime, we've got a hodgepodge of people that are taking over the community programming initiative, which Sam so artfully and dexterously hosts on most days. As you guys well know, I used to host all these shows, and I don't really do that anymore. I get out at 8 o'clock. I am now an instructor at Purdue Northwest and a student. So pretty much the rest of my day is filled with academic-oriented stuff, and I'll be teaching school here at 11 o'clock. I've gotten the university to allow me to teach the class here in the WJOB studios. We will not be going live today. I'm actually just going to lecture to my sports broadcasting class. But the part of that also is that the studios will be in use today, as you have 1 million cups is at 9 o'clock. And we basically donate the facilities and donate the time of all the guys that I pay here. So if you want to come out and see who they have today, I don't know who that is. I used to host that too. Typically what happens is I start projects and then kind of hand them off to somebody. So it's still going on. And 1 million cups is today at 9 o'clock, right after School City of Hammond show. And then at 11, I will be teaching my class and won't go on the air with the students today. And then at noon, part of the reason is I got to get out of the way today for Gino to do his show here at noon, as we had a gas leak at our old studios. And I want to talk about this for just 1 second before I go on to anything else. On Friday, we had an odd occurrence in that there was massive chunks of ice on our new roof put on by Corellis Roofing. And we painted a big WJOB on it so that you could see it from airplanes when you're coming from the southeast. You don't realize it, but going into Midway, the flight pattern is they mark WJOB Tower, and you could see it sometimes, plane after plane going right over the tower. It's way up there. You can't really see it, but, you're not, unless you're looking for it, you don't notice it. But they use the tower as a marker, so they go right over it. And so we thought, well, why don't we paint the top of the tower and put a new roof on, and we'll do that. And you can see it. People have told me that, hey, I was coming in from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I saw, I looked down and there's that big red sign. I go, yeah, well, it took a lot to get that done. But there's a big chunk of ice that was smashing a pipe on Friday or recently. We don't know how long it had been. And a woman by the name of Diana Campbell, who is a some sort of a prevention specialist for NIPSCO, was actually driving around and smelled gas in the area of the WJOB tower. And they tracked it down, and there was a big chunk of ice on one of the pipes hanging off of WJOB, and there was a leak in it. And they were able to get in there and shut the gas off. And I just wanted to damage prevention specialist. And Diana is the hero there, along with Scott Patustak, who came out and located the leak. And so crisis was averted because you have good people that work for NIPSCO and know what they're doing. I mean, I don't know much else about the company. I'm on the board there, the Citizens Advisory Panel, and we meet 4 times a year, and we whatever, but I don't know that much about it. But I do know that Diana Campbell needs to be recognized for her efforts in averting a crisis. She had, she's a damage prevention specialist, and she, I guess, I asked her, I said, well, have you ever smelled gas and then found a leak like this? She's like, no, I never have. So we're lucky she just happened to be driving along on the north end of WJOB and heard, smelled that. We don't go into that building all that often. So Gino does his show down there, and, we just were, we're just very grateful to Diana Campbell of NIPSCO, and I hope that NIPSCO uses her in their marketing material. I already told Nick Meyer, one of their head of communications, to use us in that marketing, because I don't even want to think of what would happen. We would not have noticed that for a long time. No, that wasn't Friday. That was Wednesday, right? That was whatever day it was last week. We may not have noticed it. It would have cost us a ton of money. And then second of all, it would have been a huge hazard in that area. There's all sorts of sparks flying and so forth from the car dealerships and the rail yard and so forth. You just don't need a bunch of gas hanging around. All right. It is 7:43 in the Calumet region. Let's take a look at traffic. 294 around the city actually got bad in a hurry, as you have an incident at 95th Street where must be some standing water because they've closed some exit ramps there, and that's backing things up going into 95th, both from the north and the south. Other than that, that's moving fine. 80 going east and west looks good. The Bishop Ford is your worst nightmare right now. It's from 130th all the way back to when you first get on it. It's bad. Stop and go. You've heard Bob at 5:45 this morning tell us that. It's 2 hours later, still same problem. And same problem on the southern end of the Dan Ryan also. Skyway and the toll road, those are moving along well. And so just the rest of the stuff in Indiana is moving along pretty well. The big news is the river is going down in Dyer, and that's what everybody looks at. And Jimmy Mulaney is going to flash up on Facebook video, Twitter video, and on YouTube video now. He's going to flash up the Dyer graph, and you can see that it crested around 15 15 feet and is now headed down. And that is good news because all that water comes to the Little Cal and the Hart Ditch. That has not, the Highland gauge has not started to go down. There's usually about an 8 or 9 hour delay between Dyer and then Highland starting to go down. So Kennedy Avenue is still closed. Northcott is still closed, but Holman Avenue has been reopened for travel. And so we really only have 2 closures right now over the Little Calumet River. All right. We should have a decent day. A little bit of sunshine later. Clouds giving way to some sun. Right now it's about 30 degrees everywhere from local 395 to local 41. And it's going to pretty much stay steady for the whole day. Tomorrow, high of 37, and then it gets up into the 40s over the weekend. And thanks a lot to Strachan Van Til for sponsoring both that traffic and weather. All right, let's take a look here. Where are we going, Ryan? Let's go to Dave from Gary has been holding for a while. David, how are you, man? How was it in Miller overnight?
Well, I mean, there's some police activity on Lake Street right now, but the water is receded. The main drags, Montgomery, Grand, it's all going down now, which is nice, and great coverage again on that river. And you said something yesterday, and I know you generally use it for a Cubs analogy, right? But I think a lot of us got that old feeling again. And you're right, there was a little bit of anxiety, which I find, fascinating over that.
There was a lot of anxiety yesterday, and Dave has been around and has been part of the station for a long time. It is certainly our function here to cover things and to bring them out as possible threats to what we're doing. But I do believe also that it's part of our responsibility to match the appropriate level of alarm. And I was trying to I was certainly not trying to downplay it, but I was trying to match the appropriate level. So was Rick Kubik out there. He was everywhere, showing on Facebook Live videos. He's got like over 12,000 views yesterday. So we were out there, but I just wanted to make sure that people knew that I was in contact with Dan Repay and that we weren't in any real danger of it going over its banks yesterday.
Yeah, and he was on top of that, and it when you start hearing, and I mean, you were personally affected, and so was your dad. When you start hearing the Northcote Bridge, there's the first one that goes down. It's closed at 2 a.m. That gets the anxiety up a little bit, and I just great coverage. Again, you didn't oversell it, and everything's going to work out just fine. But it was a little. I mean, I went over the river probably 10 times yesterday, and I'm like, oh man, is it moving? And it's high. But,
Dave, I want to talk about one area, and I did not get over to see this area, and I don't know what the heck I was thinking. I drove all around it basically. I ride my bike along the Little Cal a lot. And if you go to the Kennedy Avenue Bridge and the Little Cal, everybody in the region knows what we're talking about, right? And you go east. Not very many people have actually ridden their bike that way, but you go to the east and you go past Homestead Park, and then it starts to turn toward the north. Not a lot of people ride their bike up there, but it is massive. It's like a canyon. The Little Calumet River has been made into a canyon there.
That's the widest part of the river, Jed. It's deep there too.
And I just can't imagine. I can't imagine that area filled up overnight. I mean, it's like football fields full of. They just kept digging and digging and digging, and it holds water and it flows through there. It's really a beautiful sanctuary most of the time for like these weird looking long-legged birds. But I can't imagine that filled up.
Lake. Yeah, and you go from within less than a mile, you go from the shallowest point of the river, which is literally Kennedy Avenue and just a little bit west, to one of the deepest parts of the river, less than a quarter mile downstream. At that point, it's downstream to the east. So it's something, and it worked, and Dan did a great job in the coverage. But that's not why I called. I just wanted to remind you and everyone that we have our annual Haven House Bowl-a-thon Saturday at Plaza Lanes. And what we have is We might have a couple of onesie-twosie spots left, but full lanes are all sold out. But we definitely welcome everyone. For $10, you can get into the event, and that includes food. And that way you could play some games of chance and see a lot of people that you know and support Haven House. This is one of our bigger fundraisers, and Carrie Diambalo did a great job. She chaired this, and with the rest of the team at Haven House, this is going to be a big event and a really, it's a winner for Haven House. So I just want to let everyone know everyone's welcome. Registration is at 7:30. You could come between 8, 9, 10 o'clock. Come whenever you want. $10 to get in. That includes food, and you get to play some games of chance. And there's some really nice baskets. Karen and Raimundo from El Taco Real donated a really nice basket, and several TVs and tickets, and we have our wine and beer coolers that we raffle off, which are really popular. So I just welcome everyone to come out and support Haven House. It's be a fun, casual, wear some jeans and a polo or whatever you want. But it's this Saturday, and registration, the doors open at 7:30.
All right, so 7:30, and the bowling starts at 8 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, registration's at 7:30. And there's a couple of onesie-twosies. If you just wanted to come out and support and bowl and have fun, we'll definitely put you with someone fun. We have a lot of competitions. You know, we always had the Lake County Sheriff's Police against Hammond Fire, but now we've expanded that to Hammond Police and East Chicago Fire, Highland Police against Griffith First Responders. So there's a lot of matches, not just the one now. So
And you know what?
It's really going to be a fun event.
That has really added to the event, and part of it really is that, I mean, you know, they all work in the same business and so forth, but there's some pretty good bowlers who have started to come out to this. And when what's his name? What's that Hammond fireman who
bowled a 299?
And gosh, I know the guy well. I can't. Is that a Govert? Is he a Govert?
Yes.
Yeah, Govert.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to Govert, and you know, right after he did his 299, and I'm like, you know what, Govert? Let me tell you something. That if I just bowled a 299, I would not be here, and I would be at home just like swearing at myself that I couldn't bowl the 300. You know what he says to me?
Nothing to him.
You know what he says to me? He goes, "Hey, you know what, Jed? I've got 53 of them. That was not that big a deal. 53 300 games, and you're bowling at the Haven House Bowl-a-thon? What kind of loser are you?" Anyways,
it was funny because the whole event was, you could hear a pin drop when it was his, you know, he had all them strikes in a row, and he was down to the last one, and then he hangs a 10 pin right at the end, you know, and he pulls a 2-9, but you could hear a pin. He was like, yeah, you know. He says, I got more rings. I got more 300 rings. He says, I can fill every finger and toe with them. So I'm like, wow.
So I can put it out, and let's just be straight. It is a political season. I got to believe there's going to be all sorts of people running for office, and rightfully so. This is a great cause. All you got to do is come out $10 and, you know, throw a little campaign money at these guys. And it's really
we are, you know, everyone's welcome, but there will be no campaigning.
No campaigning. But they can come. They can come, but they can't wear their stuff and hand out their literature, correct?
Exactly right. Yeah. You know, so that's not what this is about.
All right, man.
Everyone is welcome. No campaigning. Thanks, Jed. This Saturday, 7:30 at Plaza Lanes. I appreciate it.
Talk to you. Bye. Hey, there you go. Let's go to Vinny on line 2. Doesn't mean that politicians can't come. They just can't do it. Remind everyone that Holman is open and Kennedy is still closed and Northcott is closed. That's what Ryan Walsh has to say. Ryan, you want to come join me here as soon as I'm done here talking to Vinny? Vinny, what's up, man?
Hey, Jim, how you doing? Saturday night, the Hawks played a good game, but unfortunately, you had four people who are idiots, who are, you know, chanting some racial incidents that happened. Now they're banned for life going to any Black Hawk home games.
We have not talked about this. Thank you, Vinny, for bringing it up.
You know,
let me.
You know what? Let me say one thing. I was hoping the Hawks would win because it helped the Pittsburgh Penguins. They won that night, but unfortunately we had a day off, and a day later, the Capitals beat the Buffalo Sabres 3-2, so they're back in first place and we're in second.
Let's talk about this. This is hold on.
Yeah.
We haven't hit it because there's been so much going on with the rain and stuff. Chicago Blackhawks have informed 4 fans that they are banned from future Blackhawks home games. That is for yelling racist taunts at Washington Capitals forward Devontae Smith-Pelly. The incident occurred on Sunday when Smith-Pelly was in the penalty box and fans repeatedly chanted basketball at him. Smith-Pelly, who is black, confronted the fans before getting back onto the ice, and the fans were escorted out. Here's what the spokesman for Blackhawks said. Racist comments and other inappropriate behavior are not tolerated by the Chicago Blackhawks. These guys have not been, they will not be coming back to the United Center. Your thoughts, Vin?
They did the right thing because it does happen throughout the NHL. If you go back in 2011, 2012, between the Boston Bruins and the Philadelphia Flyers, a couple of fans threw a banana at PK Subban. Those fans got escorted. Those fans are banned for life at the Boston Garden. It does happen. It's unfortunately that, this is 2018, that there should be no in professional sports or any kind of sports that has to do with, being racial. And the Blackhawks, the Chicago Blackhawks, they did the right thing. I know Joe Quinville did call Brian Trotz about the incident, and they accepted the apology. And it's just it's very uncalled for in professional sports. And I'm just great. I'm just glad those fans are not going to be there anymore. But the Blackhawks, they came out flat against the Kings. They did excellent on Saturday. They come out flat, lost 3-1. Brendan Saad, got his 7th goal of the year, and this is what's happening. That they're at a 0.5% to make the playoffs.
That's not even the biggest story right now. I mean, this racist comments thing has really put a big cloud over the Hawks. This is about as low a morale as I can remember. Not only do they suck, but they had Chicago people yelling racist remarks at a Washington Capitals guy. And I don't even know, did these guys not know that Anthony Duclair is black? I mean, what's going on here, Ryan?
Just uninformed, drunk fans. And heads off to the Blackhawks. Immediately, the security removed them from the game, and now they're banned from life. And there's talk that and the hope that they're going to find these 4 individuals and put them on the list for all the major venues: Cubs, White Sox, Bears, Fire, all professional teams. Don't ever let them into a stadium again.
The problem is, I don't know if you can give their names out. So if you give their names out to stadiums, then you've I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to these 4 guys.
Jim. It wasn't 4 guys.
It's 2 women, 2 men.
Yeah,
it was his. If you look at, because they were showing it, it was a guy, and his wife. They were sitting next to each other, and then there was 2 other people. There was like 2 guys behind them, and it was his wife and the guy and her husband. They were the ones that were taunting, because if you look at the highlight. And it's like right there, you could see her, start yelling at him, and and doing hand gestures. So what? It wasn't the 4 guys. It was 3 guys, and it was a husband and wife, and then 2 guys behind them.
I can't even believe that would go on in this day and age, man. I mean, what a bunch of idiots. All right, I got to move on, Vinny. Thanks, buddy. Talk to you.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye.
Talk to you. 7:59 in the Calumet region. Ryan, we didn't even get to talk about that. That's a big national story.
And Laura Ingraham and LeBron James.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
Shut up and dribble?
Yeah. Did you hear her explanation on it?
No.
You guys can listen to Laura Ingraham, and I'll be straight with you guys. Part of it is that there's kind of a lot of people watching and listening throughout the mornings now. And so that carries over, and a lot of you listen to Laura Ingraham in the late morning, and we've been able to sell some significant advertising on Laura Ingraham now, and we appreciate people doing that. But Laura said that, can we get her on? We have a thing in that contract where she has to call the morning show, I think, once a year. I think now's a good time. And we just never took on that. She's saying that LeBron shouldn't be talking about social issues. Just shut up and dribble. Do you call that a racist comment?
I don't know if it's racist, but I think it's a stupid comment from her telling other people that, she thinks that she knows college football. She thinks that she knows the weather. She makes comments. She's a political person. She makes comments about other topics. Tell her to stay in her lane, see how she feels. People that are in sports their entire lives are told, oh, you only know sports. It's garbage. It's a bunch of crap. Shut up, Laura. Shut your mouth. Don't say stuff like that. People, just because they have a passion at sports, doesn't mean that they don't know anything else.
Do you say that from personal experience?
Absolutely. Just because your favorite passion is sports, oh, it's just a game. You're wasting time. You don't know anything else. Yeah. People do. LeBron's not an idiot.
Do you feel sometimes that people may downplay your other talents and opinions because you are so into sports?
Oh yes, definitely. That's how it is. I mean, there are a lot of athletes that look at there are a lot of Ivy League and top. Frank Kaminsky. Frank Kaminsky at Wisconsin was like an academic honors basketball student. He's in the NBA. He makes comments all the time on politics and other. Haven't heard anything about him.
You know who was a big talker on this, and I want to get his name right. His name was Alan Page, and I think it was Alan Page, but he was a tackle for the Alan Page. Yeah, there he is. He was a tackle for the Vikings. Let me get this right, 88 for the Minnesota Vikings. You may not even really know him, but he went on to, I think, be on the Minnesota Supreme Court. And I saw an interview one time where he addressed that. He said, listen, I played football and I liked it and everything, but, that doesn't define me. And, I want to go to law school, or I went to law school when as I was going in as I was playing, and then I finished it up when I got out. And then he went on to be a lawyer, and then he went on to the minute. And he's like, to this day, some people don't accept me just because I played football. Not that I'm black, not that anything else, just because I played football.
Lynn Swann, he went on to have a political career. He played for the Steelers, Super Bowl champion.
Let's see.
Ventura.
Alan Page ranks 6th for most consecutive regular season NFL game starts at 215. Many old Bear fans are going, why are you bringing up Alan Page? He would sack Bobby Douglas in Bobby Douglas's nightmares every night. Ryan, we have a lot of local sports coming up. Andrean beat Hammond, huh?
Yeah, they're down by 8 at the half, 27-19, and really put the defensive front on Hammond High and held them to 13 points in the second half and won 49-40 over them.
Let's talk about that. These guys might meet again, right?
No, Andrean's 2A now.
Oh, they're 2A. That's right. So that 3A sectional, we didn't get to talk about the draw, but Griffith and Hammond don't play each other because they've had so many violent incidents at games, and that came out a couple of weeks ago. And the issue would be that Griffith and Hammond could meet in the championship of that sectional.
Well, don't count out Gary Westside. They're having a good season. They've had a couple big wins this year, and they would be in the Friday night matchup if Griffith can get by their first game.
Hey, guys, we're looking for a sponsor for the Hammond sectional. We are going to go out there and video all of the games, and any local Hammond business that wants to step up and just be the main sponsor for that sectional, we could use it. We kicked up and basically fivefold increased our costs by taking on going from radio to video for this. Actually, it's probably more like tenfold. And we had to pay a huge broadcast rights fee and all this stuff. So anybody who wants to sponsor that Hammond sectional, that may be the best sectional in the region this year with Griffith and Hammond in there. I was looking at it. Gary Roosevelt's in it. Gary Westside's in it.
Roosevelt's not there. Roosevelt's in 2A.
Roosevelt's in 2A. Who else is in that sectional?
Lighthouse and Gavin and Clark.
Lighthouse. With Lighthouse and with Westside and with Griffith and Hammond, you've got 4 real teams that could win that sectional. And we'll see what happens. Fitz-Griffith Hammond on that Saturday at Hammond Civic Center. You think McDermott pulls out and has a bunch of cops there?
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I'm telling you, got to watch out for Westside.
All right, there it is. All right, what else you got in sports, Ryan?
Well, Lake Central played Marquette Catholic last night, and you would think 1A, 4A, but it was Marquette Catholic winning 58-46 over Lake Central.
Well, that's not good from a Loznick's team. Well, you know what? Marquette Catholic, the girls are playing in the state finals this weekend, correct?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they're playing Evansville Rivet, I think they call it, a Rivet, and they're going to play in at Bankers Life. So I guess it's not that surprising. Marquette, some people go, I mean, they get kids from southwestern Michigan and so forth that just want a Catholic education. So I don't know what they have, but they have been they've been very good in the past. Sectional draws. Lake Central, Chesterton, Hammond, Whiting. Best sectional coming up.
I like the way that the Hammond one is set up. The Chester one is set up pretty good. It could be, I mean, Maryville, Valparaiso, Chesterton each could win that sectional out there. As you mentioned, Hammond High, Gary Westside, Griffith at the Hammond High one, or Hammond Civic Center. It's Clark that hosts that. The Lake Central one, that's Lake Central, East Chicago, Munster, I think are the three that could win that one.
Highland thinks they have a chance this year.
We'll see.
Lowell's down.
Crown Point, they've got
Crown Point
they're coming along. They've got a lot of younger guys.
And
mean, they were expected to win the sectional last year, and they didn't win it.
Whiting has Lake Station, River Forest, Andrean, Gary Roosevelt. You know what? We looked at this early on and thought that, now that I say it, Lake Central and Chesterton are the big school sectionals. They may be the third and fourth best sectionals around here because Whiting is, Andrean's certainly the favorite, but Lake Station and River Forest are good.
Right now, what I'm seeing is Gary Roosevelt is the favorite, and the dark horse is Lake Station. But Bishop Nolan and Drain are also in there.
It's wide open in Whiting, and I'll tell you what, if you've never been to a sectional game at Whiting, that's a lot of fun to sit in those stadium seats.
And it is a memorial gymnasium, so take your hat off when you come into the gym, please.
Well, I thought we had a show here. I think Munster Chamber of Commerce has had some changes in leadership at the executive director spot. So Munster Chamber was scheduled for this period here. It's too bad I didn't know that wasn't going to happen because we're loaded. So we just lost $250 right there. But hey, it is what it is. 200. So we will continue on. I'll just be here and hang out for a little bit longer with you guys. And we will do that right after we hear from our good friends at Quick Scripts.
Flu season got you down? Just left the doctor's office and don't want to wait in line at the pharmacy? Hi, this is Ellen from Quick Scripts Pharmacy inviting you to stop into any one of our 3 locations to experience our fast and friendly service to get you out the door and feeling better faster. We accept all insurances, have free local delivery, on-site one-on-one pharmacist consultations, and competitive pricing on generics and over-the-counter products. We are located in downtown Lansing, Illinois, downtown Griffith, Indiana, and our newest location off of 231 in Parrish Avenue in St. John, Indiana. Stop in today.
For generations, you've trusted Edgewater Systems to provide compassionate, high-quality care. As the science of behavioral health has evolved, it's revealed the important connection between physical and behavioral health. With this in mind, we're pleased to introduce Edgewater Health, which includes primary care, in addition to our long-standing mental health and addiction services. Whichever combination of services you need, Edgewater Health is here for you for your whole life. Learn more at edgewaterhealth.org.
Eduardo's Natural Pizza in Munster has built a reputation for serving the finest Chicago-style stuffed pizza, loaded with fresh and natural ingredients. Not interested in stuffed pizza? Eduardo's has the best thin crust pizza, appetizers, salads, pastas, and more. Pick up a half-baked pizza from Eduardo's to take home and bake at your convenience. It's the perfect solution for those hectic nights. Eduardo's is located at 7920 Calumet Avenue in Munster. Dine in or carry out by calling 836-2010.
Ogren Insurance has been serving the area since 1947 and provides insurance for life, home, auto, business, and more. If you're looking for one-on-one service, the best rates, knowledge, and experience, Ogren Insurance is your agency. Our number one goal is to provide you with the coverage you need at the most competitive price. To learn about the insurance solutions and services we offer in Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan, call 219-933-0076 or see our website, ogreninsurance.com. Ogren Insurance, 6929 Holman Avenue in Hammond. Accidents happen. Be protected with Ogren Insurance. Knock, knock. Who's there? Knock, knock. Who's there? Hey, everybody. It's 8:10. I'm Jim Delo. I'm going to go a little bonus round with you guys. You want something you want to talk about? We could talk about the river. We could talk about how about Jamal Washington not paying his sewer bills, huh? And Ryan, can you give me that front page? I want to talk a little bit about that. Burley asked me to talk about it. I never got to it yesterday. We could talk politics. We could talk underarm deodorants. What's your favorite underarm deodorant? We could talk about what your favorite pizza is. You got a favorite pizza in the Calumet region? I mean, there's different types of pizza in the Calumet region. We could talk about that. We could talk about the water in your backyard or your basement right now, if you guys want to talk about that too. But it's 8:11 here in the Calumet region. Let's take a look at what is happening on the roadways. And 294, still a little bit heavy going into the area there at 95th. Evidently, they got some standing water, and that's backing up both directions, north and south. So sorry about that. And 80 going east and west looks pretty good. The Bishop Ford's been a problem since Bob called to stay off the Bishop Ford early in the morning, and that is still the case at 130th. They got a big problem. And then going into the southern end of the Dan Ryan is bad going northbound from all the way from 95th on up through 37th. Through 67th. Skyway and the toll road look good. Borman I-65 are all moving along pretty well. And traffic brought to you by Napleton River Oaks Honda, proudly serving Northwest Indiana with superior customer service. And, hey, the auto show just ended. This needs to be pulled out of here, okay? And let's see what else. I got to read one of these babies here. Attention, diabetics. Now you can get your testing supplies delivered to your home. Free delivery and a free meter upgrade. Call the U.S. Medical Supply now, 800-808-5181. 800-808-5181. There you go. Traffic brought to you by Napleton. Weather, high of 31 today. That's what it is right now. That's brought to you by our good friends at Carpenter's Local 599, where it's 31 degrees here in Hammond. And they've been here since the 1800s. And let's see. Thanks a lot to the Carpenters for sponsoring the WJOB movement that we got going on here. I do want to talk about one thing. High 31 today, 37 tomorrow. We might see some sunshine on both days. Updates on the Little Calumet River. Coming over the river, Holman Avenue has now been opened. Northcott Avenue and Kennedy Avenue are now closed. We have a significant drawdown of water in Dyer, which is where all the is the marker for what's going to happen along the Little Cal and along Hart Ditch. And what you have is it's going down considerably in Dyer and hasn't really started to do that along Kennedy Avenue and the Little Cal, maybe just a little bit. And we'll keep an eye on that throughout the day, but we expect it to draw down several feet here in the upcoming hours as the water just kind of comes through and goes on out to Lake Michigan, and hopefully crisis averted. Still have some high spots. We're not entirely out of it, but for the most part, things worked as the way they were supposed to work. And one of those was that you guys all participated in calling in and alerting us to what is going on. And I have not hit all of the text messages that come, huh? Hey, Jed, have a great day from Cassandra. We appreciate it. What else? No ranked teams in the region this year. Yes, that is an issue in basketball. No state champion possibilities, really. But on the other hand, we have some of the more competitive sectionals than we've had in a long time. These sectionals should have a number of really good games. And once again, if you want to sponsor the video for that, we had 5 people. I just started talking about it yesterday. We had 5 people sign up on it, and we could maybe get 5 more today. That'd be great. The Lake Central sectional evenly matched, says another texter. Another texter corrects me here, and it is Vincennes Rivet or Vincennes Rivet and not Evansville. I was wrong. You are correct. Laura Ingram, I'm sorry. That's when I shut WJOP off, and I appreciate that. I understand that. I mean, I also understand that at some point we have to remember that there are just differing opinions in the world. And I know it's not really in vogue to listen to a lot of opinions. A lot of people who are very conservative like to turn on Fox News and just go, knock their head around the echo chamber and just hear the same stuff over and over. And a lot of people that are very left might turn on MSNBC and get the same Rachel Maddow sardonic comments every night because you really don't want to hear other people. And I get that. That's the way America is right now. But that's not the way I am, and that's not the way WJOB is. So as for long as I'm in charge, it's going to be where varying voices will be heard on our radio stations. And I know that's not really the what is the top of style right now or is in vogue, but it was at one point, and it will again be, where we take in differing opinions and just kind of synthesize them. And to whoever texted that in, you know what? Go live in your little MSNBC world, and you'll hear your echo chamber, and you'll be happy with that. Hey, Jed, do you want to correct your uninformed, unintelligent sports director? Just because those idiots at the Hawks game made racist comments doesn't mean they are Trump supporters. If he doesn't walk this back, I'm going to blast you guys as just another part of the fake news cycle. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, to that texter from 773, you can blast us all you want. I really don't give a crap. The second part of that is that Ryan Walsh did not say anything about those guys being Trump supporters. So you misheard. But I do welcome you blasting me because, like I said, if I was at a bar, I would just say I don't give a shh. But instead, I have to say I don't give a crap. All right. So why don't you go whine and just take a towel and cry to yourself a little bit later. Jeans and a polo? Is that what you're going to wear? Who wears jeans and a polo? Billy Baker does when he goes out. That is for the Haven House Bowl-a-thon on Saturday night, and that'll be at 7 o'clock. You can come out, just drop down $10, and it's usually a lot of fun. I don't bowl in it anymore, but just kind of stop by, and I just josh with people and, try to drum up, get people to spend more money. Hassey Construction has been by far the biggest supporter of that thing for a long time, and I don't try not to put too much pressure on them because they basically buy all the tickets and stuff. But the Hassey family, we've got to take some pressure off the Hassey family on doing that one, and Paul from Hassey and the other one. What else do we got? Is there any other drop-off points for Haven House donations other than the YMCA? I think if somebody wants to drop something off, Debbie Wargle will take it here. I don't like to we won't take goods, but if you want to drop off money, we'll take it here. We can't take goods here at Purdue. It's just not in our lease. Let's see how Deb's doing on 599. Deb, how are you?
Okay. How you doing?
You stay dry or what?
Yeah. And, you were mentioning having Hunter on, Mr. Ron Hunter. He would be an excellent guest, and I would probably say you should have him on for an hour at least because people could ask questions. He's very good at explaining to the layperson. I learned quite a bit from him living in Dyer. He was on our storm board for many years. I learned a lot from Van Til and our new engineers, Thomas and them. We made it out of it. I want you to know, though, that I think about 37.6 acres comes draining Dyer's way. You aware of that?
Say that again. I'm sorry. What do you mean
I
by
think
that?
about 37.6 acres comes a draining Dyer's Way from south, okay? So you always say Dyer's depositing or south is depositing. We also get water from down in Crete.
Yeah, I think.
That kind of caused one of the floods they indicated, or was a factor in it, we'll say.
Well, here's the deal on that, Deb. I think it's fairly well accepted that you're taking all this water in from Chicago Heights and Crete and Linwood. You're taking it in from St. John Township and St. John and points to the south and to the west mostly. But that gauge, I want to say it's south
of the
of
toilet bowl here.
Yeah,
okay?
that gauge is what all of the local officials are watching, the Dyer gauge.
I did too.
Yeah.
Well, I was waiting for Munster to come down so we could come down a bit. It just seemed weird, like with what you're saying. It usually works the opposite, wouldn't you think? Like as Munster let up, we would let up.
No. Here's how I understand it.
That's why Ron would be great to have on.
So here's the deal. In Dyer, they're taking all that water from all of South County, and it comes through Dyer.
And from Illinois.
And then it crests, and then it deposits. It takes it a while to get up here to the Little Cal and up to Highland and Munster. So all of the officials look at what Dyer's doing because that'll tell what's going to happen in 8 or 9 hours up here.
Yeah, and we're hauled up. We're hauled up here too. I will say Dyer did a wonderful job. We do have since them last two floods in 7 and 8. They did finally, after many years of contemplation and meetings and what type of model to use to do this with, we do have a berm, although it's 2 feet shy of being taking everyone out of a floodplain and being actually considered flood control. It is a preventative, I guess would be a good word for it. And since that has been installed after those 2 floods, they also dredged it out here. I think it was a county project this summer. And Dyer also did obtain Chuck Brimmer in Visklowski's office. I would call him a lot. He did get us a pump station, which immensely helped.
All right, Deb.
area.
You know what? You got some pretty good suggestions there. Ron Hunter is my Little League coach, and I'll get him on at some point.
I do agree with Heckle because you know what? Dan Repay, and I've talked with him too on the air. He said it too. It's not if we're going to flood again, it's when. And I'm sorry, I don't, there were a lot of extenuating circumstances with this potential flood here, but it was not a lot of rain, okay? And he is correct. If something big hits here, I don't care what berm or whatever we have here, it's not going to work. And I think folks should consider, and I've been fighting for 20 years, forget your train, okay? Use your money to protect your flood-prone areas and then get a train. Who wants to come where you get 2 inches of rain, you're going to flood out? What sense is it's like backwards?
Okay. All right, Deb. Thank you so much for your comments. Talk to you. All right, local 599 phone line. Big Rich has traffic. Big Rich, where are you, buddy?
I am on a Chinatown feeder ramp. I'm throwing out a ceremonial egg roll for the preacher because that's how he used to get his dates. He used to go trolling over here in Chinatown.
You are so... It's an off-color joke if there ever was one. But anyways, you went to Skyway and the toll road, didn't you?
Yeah, I did the Klein Avenue down to toll road because I heard that the the Bishop Ford was a chocolate mess. So did that. Once you get off the Skyway, stay in the local lanes. It goes much quicker than the express lanes. And it still slows down around 31st, but overall, on a morning like this, I left a little bit later. I thought if we were going to get all this freezing that they had reported that, at least the ice would, the salts would be out, and actually pretty easy ride in.
All right, man. Stay up the Bishop Ford. Take the Skyway and the toll road today. Thanks, Big Rich. Talk to you.
All right, bye.
All right, final phone call, then I'm done. Matt, how are you, bud?
Hey, we didn't just get 2 inches of rain. we had 2 feet of snow on the ground that melted overnight, literally, on ground that was frozen, except for the top foot. I mean, this was somewhat of an unprecedented event, and I think it's the finest hour of local governments so far. Things worked. Town of Munster mobilized efficiently and appropriately. Little Calumet River Basin Authority did what they were supposed to do with the mandate. They got the money. They took care of it. So let's have a little credit where credit's due, in my opinion.
What about paying that $45 every year?
Worth every penny. I mean, the property values alone. I mean, it's worth every penny. Obviously.
Dave from Crown Point and Deb is following up with that. They're both South County people that don't want to pay the money to protect us, or think it's not working.
Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily want to pay, money for unincorporated, St. John to have their streets plowed either, but I do. So it is what it is. Suck it up, because, as one area goes, so goes the rest of the region.
So we're going to be at 4 sites for the sectionals and video, and we're running out of announcers. Did you know that?
I'm game. As long as the Mustangs don't have a game, I'll help out anywhere I can.
All right, thanks a lot, buddy. I'll remember you said that. Talk to you. Local 599 phone line. I'm done, guys. I was up most of the night. Got a call from Chief Timmer at midnight. I had to go over to the Heart Ditch. You could see that Facebook Live video. I'm running out of gas, and I got to go teach class here in a little bit. So I will not be hosting 1 Million Cups, but they're going to have it right here in the studios, right, guys? Right? We're having 1 Million Cups? Yes, and that'll be at 9 o'clock. If you want to come by and get some free coffee and learn about entrepreneurship, I'll be with you watching it live on Facebook and Twitter, not on YouTube. YouTube's just for me. That's mine. Just my show goes on YouTube. The rest of it is Facebook and Twitter. So that's it. I want to thank Rick Kubik for some amazing coverage of the flood yesterday.